In this world, your strength is determined by your class. Swordsman, mage, priest, fighter, knight, warrior, and hero. But nevertheless, no one knows that the strongest class in this world is peasant. The story begins with an extremely tragic incident. A man was hit by a truck. He died in an accident in modern Japan, after which he was reborn in a completely different world. So he received the class of peasant. His name was Ryudo McLean. When thinking about reincarnation, shouldn't it be unfair? Ryudo didn't know if he could really be a simple peasant. While he was reasoning, the guy was chopping wood. After finishing the hard work, he sighed proudly. If that was the case, then he just needed to enjoy his life as a normal villager. Suddenly, someone spoke to the boy. Behind him stood a girl and another boy. Ryudo recognized them as his friends Moses and Cordelia. He asked them why they were with him. The girl asked if he had forgotten their promise to eat together. As it turned out, he had actually forgotten. Cordelia grabbed his hand and led him forward. She cheerfully told him to hurry, for the sun was setting. Ryudo thought that the real character who was beyond the rules was this girl who was born 3 days after him. Her name was Cordelia Allstone. The girl squeezed Ryudo's hand so hard that it made a loud crunching sound. She let go of his hand in a panic and apologized. Ryudo raised his palm and told her not to worry about it, since he had just hit his hand on a tree not long ago. After this situation, Cordelia stood quite far from the boy. For a moment, there was a very awkward pause. Moses coughed, trying to dilute the atmosphere. He reminded them that they also had to discuss the lecturer's notes from the magic conference. Cordelia remembered and was a little surprised. She asked if it was a lecture from that teacher with the big hat. Now, in order not to get injured even in time from everyday gatherings, Ryudo has to work hard to control it. At 15 years old, Cordelia is already a hero with the title Ikedasan. Speaking of heroes, having one can be an important factor for a country to end wars. And Moses class is sage. As a sage, he can use weapons from a distance. Another character with strong abilities. They are considered unique units of the country, even among the handful of those who are close to the high level. This is precisely the reason why Ryudo was so ashamed. Even with this difference between their statuses, they were still good friends. The guy hugged them tightly, which surprised them greatly. They asked him what he was doing so suddenly. Ryudo asked how long they would continue to talk about something he knew nothing about. They said they couldn't talk about anything except school. Ryudo asked Cordelia if she was sure that everything was okay, since monsters were common in that area. The girl was struck by this fear. Even though she who had the status of a dragon slayer was there, Ryudo was still afraid of ordinary monsters. The girl smiled proudly and asked if he was really that scared to even go outside the village. Ryudo said that he was just a peasant and had no choice. Suddenly, Cordelia heard something running right through the forest. The girl paid attention to it while Ryudo continued to talk about how they brought someone like him into the forest. Suddenly, the monster jumped out right at them. The frightened boy screamed as loud as he could. Cordelia reacted quickly. She lunged forward and attacked the monster, destroying it. With blood on her face, she smiled and told them to stew some pork tomorrow morning. Suddenly, she realized what had happened and quickly turned away. Cordelia was wiping the blood from her face in a rush. Ryudo realized that things were really bad because he had let his emotions escape. He felt extremely ashamed of what he had said. The girl still had her back to him. She asked right now if Ryudo was asking why she had brought him to this place. She said she wanted to show him the real her, which he probably wouldn't have been able to see in the village. Cordelia was shaking as she said that from now on she would officially join the knightly order and train. When she reaches 16, she will enter the Royal Magic Academy as a special student. That's why she wanted him to see the real her. She tried to ask him something, but Ryudo asked if that meant Moses was watching too. The girl fell silent. The next moment she said that she was addressing him specifically. With a worried look, she asked why he was so cheerful since they would not be able to see each other anymore. She blushed and asked if he really didn't think anything at all. She asked him if he really had nothing at all that he wanted to tell her. In response to this, the guy could not answer anything. Realizing this, she couldn't say anything. Suddenly, someone loudly asked if Ryudo could come over for a minute, since it was a bit difficult for them to wash it in this cold. Ryudo exclaimed that he would be there soon. He turned to Cordelia and asked why she had such a pouty face. The offended girl said that she didn't know, after which she told him to hurry up and go to work. She turned to the departing guy and said that since he was a peasant, if he saw any monsters, he should call her loudly. The boy thought he already knew about it. It was because he was a peasant that he had no choice. Moses apologized for calling him to ask for help. The boy said that he should not worry, because this was the work of peasants, not wise men. Moses said that they had already decided to appoint Ryudo as the head of cooking and laundry. Ryudo said that this girl only gives orders but does nothing herself. Moses laughed and said that it was true Ryudo. After a while they finished the laundry. Moses apologized to Ryudo again. The guy said that everything was fine. Suddenly, Ryudo asked if the three of them were not friends. Suddenly, the boy dropped the bowl of water into the river and felt a tremor. Ryudo lost all senses and fell to the ground. The smile on Moses' face faded and he asked if Ryudo had really said friends. He asked who was friends with whom. He mockingly asked if Ryudo had meant friendship between a farmer and a wise man. He said it was not a funny joke at all. His face hardened as he said the drug was finally working. Incomprehensible, Ryudo asked why Moses was doing this. He said that he, Cordelia, and Ryudo were all born in the same year and grew up as childhood friends with the same upbringing. However, the one the girl treated well was Ryudo. His class was defined as sage. Among tens and hundreds of thousands, only one gets such talent, Moses. He put his hand on his chest and said that he too had been reincarnated. He stepped on Rito's hand and said that even if we talk about reincarnation, he would not understand. As he continued to press the boy's hand into the ground, he said that it was no big deal. In any case, Moses had not only been given the gift of being a wise man, he was special. He was surprised because he could only think of it as a blessing, the existence of a girl on this earth who looked like an angel. A few years later, he really wanted it. He told the half-dead Ryudo that he was no longer worthy of being by her side. He claimed that this was his answer to Ryudo's question. Moses did not realize that the peasant was talking to a hero of the same level. He stepped on the boy and said that he should know his place. After saying this, he kicked Ryudo so hard that he fell into the river. At that very moment, Cordelia felt something strange hit her head. She turned around, wondering where Ryudo was. In the water, the boy was trying to catch air. He was beating against the waves, sinking deeper and deeper into the water. Before Ryudo's eyes appeared the image of Cordelia, who was smiling sincerely at him. At that moment, he was ready to say goodbye to life. Suddenly, an image of a girl also appeared before his eyes, who was loudly shouting his name, asking him to respond if he was okay. The water began to disperse when the boy saw her. The girl was genuinely shocked when she saw Ryudo. The guy smiled. He was glad only that he could apologize to her. Cordelia rushed to him with tears in her eyes as he sank into the water. Everything went dark before the boy's eyes, when suddenly he saw a small stone. Little Cordelia and Ryudo were walking when the girl managed to cut the stone with her sword, after which she laughed happily. The boy could see his childhood memories. In each of them, Cordelia was happy. She smiled when she spent time with him. Ryudo realized that this was the light at the end of the tunnel, when life flashes before your eyes just before death. He tried to reach Cordelia, but she walked quickly and confidently. He was pathetic. Lying on the ground, Ryudo thought about how he wanted to become strong. He opened his eyes and was shocked to see a dragon in front of him. The monster said that he didn't even know if the guy was a loser or a lucky one. However, one thing was clear: the boy fell into the stream, which brought him to him. In a half-delirium, Ryudo said that he had one wish for the dragon. Ryudo said he had heard about it before. That people who lived in dragon lairs became very strong. The dragon said it was true that there were several people like that. This is a famous story among heroes. When an ordinary person was bound by fate to a dragon, they received a strange power that allowed them to become heroes. Ryudo sincerely asked the dragon to take him with him because he really wanted to become strong. After a short pause, the dragon said that, unfortunately, he was unable to fulfill Ryudo's request. He said there were two reasons for this. The first was a restriction. Those accepted by the dragon race were orphans or slaves under the age of 12. Ryudo asked about the other reason. The dragon said the guy was already dead. Half of the guy's body was erased. The monster carefully lifted half of Ryudo's body. The boy stared blankly into space, thinking that this couldn't be happening. Ryudo asked what would happen if he could fulfill these conditions. The dragon said that if it were so, he would grant the wish because he did not throw words to the wind. The boy grinned and asked if he had received the dragon's promise. He said that what he wanted was the dragon divine protection, and also the great library of the Dragon King. The shocked monster lifted the boy up in front of him and asked how Ryudo knew about this. He guessed that instead of asking questions, it would be faster to read the boy's mind. Suddenly he saw a small boy sitting in front of the bodies of dead people. He realized that Ryudo was not meeting him for the first time. Now everything became clear to him, and he noticed that Ryudo's thoughts were extremely interesting. The dragon said that if everything went according to the guy's plan, the line from this moment would be changed. The problematic guy got the dragon's promise. The next moment, the boy found himself in a white space. The other half of his body was back in place. Ryudo raised his arms and legs, twirled them a little. After that, he quickly sat up. He grinned and said that somehow, but he will win this bet. The creature in the mask who stood next to him smiled. The girl said that Ryudo had been through a lot. The boy agreed and then thanked the abilities he had taken. After that, he changed the wording and said that he had chosen them from God and that he had returned after death. The girl said that the truth of return after death was that there were many people who were informed of the essence of using it. Ryudo said that not many people dared to do it. The guy said there were no more abilities that allowed revival, so he asked if he could choose one again. The girl said he couldn't, he would get 2 at most. She had explained earlier that each ability could only be chosen once. She opened a large screen in front of Ryudo and told him to choose 2 abilities excluding the first one, Return from Death, and the second one, Wisdom, which he had chosen earlier. The boy said it was a shame because he could gain more abilities in his next reincarnation. The second round of his gamble was also successful. After all, his class would still be Peasant. The girl said that the boy's reincarnation location and surroundings would be repeated, just like last time. With that in mind, he decided to choose 2 abilities, Stamina and Farming. The girl said that she could understand the ability Stamina, but farming was absurd to her. The guy said that the girl loved flowers. He said that in her daily cruelty, he wanted to at least bring a smile and flowers. The girl smiled and said that she understood. She awarded him the abilities that he had managed to choose. After that, she wished him a successful journey. A flash of light appeared in front of Ryudo, after which he was transported. Just like last time, he will be born in this dilapidated house very soon. As a peasant without strength and wealth, but now he had a promise, and he would be able to walk this path to victory. Become strong as a peasant, he would prepare everything necessary for this. A large family was congratulating little Ryudo on his 2nd birthday. The party was in full swing and people were having fun. People congratulated McLean on the day. The man was also grateful to many for coming to see them. He clapped his hands, calling for everyone's attention. He pointed to other parents and said that another hero had appeared. Lady Cordelia, whose birthday was in 3 days. Everyone admired how beautiful she was. She reminded everyone of an angel. Many were already talking about wanting her to be with someone's son in the future. Suddenly, another little child began to cry loudly. Cordelia's mother said that their baby was hungry too. She picked up the boy and told him to press in one place. She turned to McLean and asked him to lend her the room for his wife. The man agreed and said that his wife was already there. The girl was feeding the boy. When she entered the room, she saw Ryudo's mother breastfeeding him. She was a little surprised that she was feeding him like this again, but Ryudo's mother didn't seem to be bothered by it. The girl noticed that Ryudo was looking at her very attentively. She assumed that he also wanted her to breastfeed him. McLean's mother said that was not true. She stroked the boy's head and repeated that he did not want them. She hugged him and proudly said that he was happy with her too. She was happy when she said that he loved his mother and that it was mother's love. She picked him up and asked if the girl would like to hold him. She told him that when someone else hugged him, he started crying. The girl picked him up, but there was no reaction. McLean, amazed, asked why. She picked up Ryudo and asked him why. She asked him if he loved his mother more than this woman. She asked if he wanted his mother to hug him. Scared, McLean asked him why he wasn't crying. She immediately rushed forward, wanting to take him to the doctor. McLean tried to stop her, asking where she was going. At night, when everyone was already asleep, Ryudo thought that mom and dad were the same as always. The boy raised his hands and began to use normal wind magic. If he continued to do this, he would be able to use it as a child. He tried about 4 times, but he still couldn't do it. He spent the world. Ryudo wondered why he was doing this, since he had already decided that he had to be stronger. In his first reincarnation, he explained how the wisdom skill would help him become stronger. Wisdom is an ability that references and verifies any knowledge below rank B in people's minds. Behind the boy was a library. Wisdom gave him the ability to read books from all over the world in his head. In his past life, he used wisdom to become smarter as a baby. He also read a book and found a magician's description of how to record a person's experience. They conducted an experiment on how to increase magical power in childhood. They paid much attention to the talent and potential of the child and forced him to practice magic. The child's talent is outstanding. The greatest improvements are observed when training to expand magical power is carried out during the most sensitive period, and knowledge takes up the entire childhood. However, to expand the magic power, a person must use magic daily until his power reaches 0. An adult will get headaches or shock, which is at his level, causing madness. Therefore, even though Ryudo knew the method, he couldn't carry it out. However, this time he could endure it with the skill resilience. The ability to overcome pain with the mind means that his magical power will increase infinitely. It increases hundreds of times faster in childhood. Ryudo was a simple peasant, and no matter how much effort he put in, there was something he couldn't achieve. He decided that since that was the case, he would go ahead and let someone try to catch up with him. Now he was the stronger one. 2 years later, in the 4th month of his birth, he went to the village priest to use the status plate. The boy looked at his statistics and noticed that he had grown more than he expected. He liked the feeling of walking alone because he was already 4 years old. He went to the mountains alone by himself to collect vegetables or herbs. The things he gives away when he returns from the mountains, he buys at the market. He had not gone to the mountains, but he had money to buy it. The answer to this question was something else. Cordelia stood in front of Ryudo and said that she would go pick vegetables with him. The boy said that he was not going to go with her. Cordelia burst into tears and said that Ryudo didn't want to play with her at all. She didn't like being so alone. The boy patted her on the head and said he would lose with her next time, then apologized. Cordelia yelled at the boy, then left in anger. She turned around and said she would not listen to him anymore. Ryudo thought that he should leave home so that this would not happen again. Now, wherever he was, he thought about money and where he was going. Standing in the forest, he activated the Skill Physical Ability Increase, level 4. He worked on the streets outside the city in the villages to earn money. If he uses his ability, it is easy to earn money even as a child. Ryudo worked to become stronger. While in the city, the boy treated other people's ailments. People thanked him and said that even though he was young, he had a strong healing ability. There were long lines around Ryudo. It was not uncommon for children his age to use novice-level recovery magic. That was why he became an opponent of merchants, opening his own instant healing shop. Even now, he was increasing his magic power reserve, but it was too boring. He stopped the treatment once he had used up a lot of magic power so that the fatigue would not look fake. He is busy spending his magical power and earning money on the streets near the city hotels. He kept his savings under a small tree. When he pawned his new profits, he thought he had saved up a lot of money. His stats also grew quickly. On his way back, he saw Cordelia looking at him with a displeased expression. He asked her what had happened again. When Ryudo asked how she was doing, Cordelia turned away from him with a displeased expression. The girl said that she was upset with him and did not listen. She also said that she had been standing there since the morning. Ryudo took his bag and began to take something out. He handed the girl a souvenir, which was a sandwich with lettuce and bacon. Cordelia's eyes lit up. Ryudo told her to eat there, to which she agreed. The boy sighed, thinking that she was as easy to take care of as usual. After finishing her sandwich, Cordelia extended her hand to him and said that she was no longer angry with him. She said that she had expressed herself incorrectly and asked for his hand. They held hands and walked back. They began to share what had happened during the day, as well as ordinary conversations. A year later, they were walking in a field together. Cordelia asked the boy if he wasn't having fun. She asked him again if it was fun. The guy agreed, thinking that he just wanted to run away because today the trinket merchants arrived. They would trade things from all over the world. They lived in a small village, and when traders came, it was the event of the century. During the walk, Cordelia asked the boy if his family would come. He said that his parents lived modestly, not richly but stingily. The weather has been terrible lately. One family almost sold their baby, and they almost did it too. Cordelia asked Ryudo to say tan 10 times. Then she asked what the chicken was laying. The boy quickly said that they were laying eggs. Ryudo said that she was not old enough to lie to him. The girl said she would catch him this time. She asked him to say "I hate" and then changed the wish, asking him to say "I love" with love. While he was saying this, she watched in amazement. When Ryudo wanted to hear more, she said that she was happy that he said that he liked her. She couldn't think of anything else. He stroked her head and said she said something sweet. Childhood friend, younger sister, or daughter or niece. He didn't think of her as someone to fall in love with. However, he knew for sure that she was dear to him. Together they came to the shopping streets. Cordelia said it was beautiful there. Ryudo asked if she had any snacks. She asked him to wait a bit and ran off. Cordelia quickly bought something and handed it to the boy. She said she had saved up some coins. Cordelia reminded him that today was the boy's birthday, which he had forgotten. He didn't think his birthday was coming so soon. He saved this for her birthday. He took a flower and said that this was instead of her coins. Although 3 days earlier, he congratulated her by putting a flower in her hair. The girl reached out to him, and she kissed Ryudo on the lips. He blushed. Pulling away, he asked why she did it suddenly. Cordelia said that mom and dad do it to show how good they are together. Suddenly, Ryudo noticed that he had hit her in the nose. He thought that the kiss was not that important to her, but he realized that it was not. The girl spun around and asked him if the flower was right for her. Ryudo confirmed and asked if they were going back. He asked if she had forgotten anything since they had bought everything they had. The girl remembered about the snacks. She had bought a honey snack but had not tried it. Ryudo asked her to wait a bit. This girl will say in the future that she has a separate stomach for sweets. The next day, the boy was walking through the forest looking for something. They say there is a strange old man. He is somewhere far from the village. He came there to see him. Looking at his skills, he thought that he was definitely growing, but anyway, he was only improving magic and its power, and there was no point in that. He knocked on the door and entered the dilapidated house. He needed a teacher. There he saw an old man. The man chased Ryudo away because he had no intention of teaching him. The boy said he came with something. He took something out of his bag. The old man asked if Ryudo was trying to make a joke. The boy asked if the old man had any more water. He addressed him as Bernard. Bernard of Arbasta, once the most powerful swordsman in the kingdom. He was born a peasant, grew up and married in the village. They were poor but happy. The incident occurred 3 years after the birth of his daughter. A cruel monster killed his entire family. He lost everything and disappeared from the village. A decade later, he appeared at the city swordsmanship competition. After this, he joined the victorious knightly order. He became the next captain of the order and worked to destroy the orcs, for which he received his nickname. The old man asked that since Ryudo knew, he understood what had happened, and therefore he could not teach him. The boy took something else out of his bag. It was an elixir, the only medicine that could save Bernard. He asked where Ryudo got so much money. The boy opened the status and allowed the old man to see it. He earned money through treatment, but it is a secret. The old man asked if the boy was a demon or a gift from a deity, since the numbers were large. Ryudo said he was a man like Bernard, a peasant. The old man asked why a peasant whose strength exceeded 10,000 wanted to become his disciple. He said that if Ryudo wanted to learn magic, he could enroll in the Imperial Academy. The boy said that he was a peasant and would not be able to use higher-level magic. Bernard confirmed this. Ryudo said that he had to become stronger, but he could not say more. However, he did not want the old man to die. Bernard stood up. Ryudo thought there was a hidden room. The old man prayed near a small number of things belonging to his family. He cut his hair and went out to Ryudo. He asked how he was doing. He said that he was still a fine knight. 6 years later, Ryudo was already 12. Today was the 273rd month of his training. A week later, a band of goblins will attack the village. Cordelia will fight, but will be overpowered and face defeat. However, after all this, the dragon will appear and kill the goblins. It happened in a previous life. Ryudo decided to leave the village for a while. This time, he would come to the lair and see the dragon first. There was something he had to take care of. The first was his mother, who wanted to kiss the boy. Ryudo asked her to calm down and listen to him. He asked if she could stop kissing him in the morning. He said that he was already 12 and her kiss was good only until he was 6. The woman was speechless. Afterwards, she said that he was right. After that, she tried again, but Ryudo stopped her again. She ran out of the house in tears, causing a stir. Ryudo actually liked them, but he needed to wean himself off his family. There were 7 days left before the attack. He wanted to ride the dragon and leave the village. Bernard said his medicine should be enough. 7 years ago, they said that Ryudo wanted to learn the skill steel body that strengthened him and was different from increasing physical ability. Increasing physical ability multiplies the basic stats. For a peasant, this is an advantage. The steel body increases the characteristics. You should thank it when the basic characteristics are very low. Bernard said that a steel body is essential for learning to increase physical abilities. Ryudo said that he could already use the increase in physical abilities, and then lifted the old man. Bernard landed and asked how Ryudo could increase his stats so much. The boy said that anyone can do it if they are not afraid of pain. Ryudo said that the demon gate was the same. Bernard noted that the boy knew forbidden techniques. Demon gate, he can actually open the gates where demons live. The old man asked how Ryudo knew about it. The boy said that he died and saw him. Steel body and physical ability enhancement are skills that are being cancelled. When the magic power runs out but the demon gate eats the soul until it is cancelled. Bernard asked if Ryudo knew that it would exhaust him and lead to death. He asked if the boy wanted to learn now. Ryudo asked who he was talking to, since his powers exceeded 10,000. The old man confirmed this. If this is true, he could make full use of the demon gate. He said that Ryudo would become strong. The boy said he had no choice. For 12 years he had done all he could. 1 week left. On the first day of the 4th month, Cordelia's parents said that they were teaching her the order of a knight. In these 2 years, she will easily gain practical experience and become a knight at 12. She thought that it was only in words. They will throw her into the order where she should be a squire. But due to connections, she will be the most respected, and they will throw her into battle. She shouldn't be afraid, but she didn't want to take other people's lives. Cordelia's mother asked if she was afraid. The girl began to cry because this would be her first and last request. It was unfair, even though they received financial support. The father asked if she was afraid because a hero was not something stupid. The man said that Cordelia had been awarded by an oracle. The mother jumped up but could not answer. Cordelia said she wasn't afraid. She thought it would be better not to accept the gift. She apologized and said she would go back to the room. Her father wanted to take her because she was not feeling well. The girl said she was fine and pushed him away, but she misjudged her strength. She thought it was her emptying magic. Her father lay unconscious against the wall while the others tried to call him. They looked at her with fear. Cordelia ran out of the house, thinking that she didn't understand anything. She wanted help. She knew that today was the flower festival. The city square was decorated with flowers to welcome spring. The streets are full of food and vendors, but this year the festival was cancelled and they didn't know why. Sitting on a bench, she thought back to the past. Ryudo approached her and said that he was going to show her something. Wiping away her tears, she asked him what he meant. He sat down in front of her and said that it was a bad flower festival, to which she agreed. Ryudo extended his hand to her and told her to come with him. Even though they were the same age, Ryudo seemed like an adult, as if her childhood friend was an older brother. His back used to seem bigger, but she knew that the paths they would take would be different. Although they had always been together, from now on it would be different. Cordelia said she was scared to think about it and didn't know if it was wrong. Ryudo said it was normal. Cordelia said she was a hero. Ryudo said if she didn't like it, she shouldn't do it. The girl hesitated. Ryudo suggested that they run away together, to a place where no one knew she was a hero. He didn't understand himself. Even if two children ran away from the village, they could not survive. But if she went, she could be with him. She almost agreed with him when suddenly he said that they had arrived. Cordelia was surprised by the beauty of this place. There were many cherry blossoms there. Ryudo said that he bought these saplings 6 years ago. Cordelia saw these flowers for the first time. She asked what this place was. Ryudo said that he made it. Cordelia didn't understand what that meant. He said that the girl liked flowers and he did it for her. Cordelia was shocked. She realized that she had received the power, but she was not the only one who had it. Ryudo, as a farmer, had the power of growing crops. Everyone is assigned a role. It's somehow simple. Her power is the power of fighting and heroism, the power to protect her friends from enemies. She thanked Ryudo. Cordelia asked how long it took to grow. Ryudo said about 7 years. It was important to start slowly and with the basics. Cordelia said they said the flowers wouldn't grow this year. Suddenly, Ryudo said that a great disaster might happen. He said he had a feeling that the Earth Spirit's form had become distorted. Or maybe he was imagining it, but she still didn't understand. Cordelia said she understood, and no matter what happened, she would protect him because she was a hero. That day, he could only stand and watch her cry. 2 years later, Cordelia stood in defense of the village. Monsters were closing in on them. In the village where Ryudo and Cordelia grew up, no matter what happened, it was her path, and she couldn't escape her fate. Cordelia tried her best to hold on because she had to protect Ryudo. The guy ran through the city, avoiding the goblins who were following him, wanting to destroy everything in their path. Suddenly, he tripped and fell into the mud. The boy looked up tensely when he saw that the monsters were already close. The goblins were about to attack him when suddenly they were destroyed by Cordelia, who managed to come to the rescue. She looked at Ryudo and was very happy that he was alive. Suddenly, Ryudo noticed that there was a goblin behind Cordelia who tried to kill the girl by attacking her from behind. The girl instantly turned around and stopped the enemy's attack with her sword. She was already at her limit. Cordelia said she was fine and she came there to clean things up. Ryudo thought that he had deliberately delayed his escape. He had to do everything he could to make the events of his previous incarnation repeat themselves. If he used his power to defeat the goblins, history would change. If the red dragon doesn't appear, Ryuto won't be able to enter its lair. In an instant, the boy saw something unexpected in Cordelia's arms. Black magic that left a rotting, incurable scar on her left arm. Ryuto was curious about why she wore long sleeves even in the summer. He tried to calm himself down, thinking that she wouldn't die from it. He wondered why he was thinking about becoming stronger. To become a hero, to be in a group of heroes, that wasn't what he wanted or could want. Why is he silently sharpening his fangs? Not for moments like these. Just as the monster was about to overtake Cordelia, the boy stood up. He thought that Ijima Ryudo would not stand aside. He used the skills increased physical strength, steel body, and also demonic gait. Ryudo thought happily that he had done it. With quick movements, he destroyed the goblins one by one, while Cordelia watched silently, unable to do anything. Blood was dripping from the boy's hands as the goblins were afraid to approach him and attack him. The monsters' faces showed the horror and fear they felt towards Ryudo. Ryudo thought that he felt such a sharp pain, although the perseverance was active. He remembered that all the people wanted to make her a hero, to sacrifice her and put a burden on her soul, the soul of a very little girl who had not managed to do anything in this life. He turned to Cordelia and told her to leave the rest to him. The girl asked him to run away because he was an ordinary peasant and would not be able to defeat so many monsters. Ryudo smiled cruelly and exclaimed that he was the strongest peasant in this world. The villagers didn't understand what was going on and were panicking, but they noticed and realized that Ryudo was there. Hearing this, the elder McLean took a pitchfork and immediately went to her son. The others grabbed her and began to stop her. In the end, Ryudo's father knocked the girl out. The elder McLean thought that Ryudo was always doing something secretly, but he didn't know what the purpose was. The boy continued to fight the goblins. He noticed that the enemy's weapons were extremely fragile. Ryudo launched them at the enemies who were destroying the city, the villa, destroying them even faster. He thought that, as expected of the village's chief toolmaker, it would be nice to have such weapons at home. Holding a scythe in his hands, he swung it, killing the goblins terrifyingly fast. Some of the monsters with bows began to shoot. Ryudo activated the skill crop cultivation and then raised huge stalks underneath him. He climbed them and fought the monsters. He thought that he couldn't seem to use it like that. Next, Ryudo encountered a huge monster and asked if he was their boss, to which the goblin responded by charging forward. Ryudo thought that this monster was fast and powerful. In an instant, the battle turned around and the boy began to take damage. He took hits one after another, but when he was pinned down, he took out a pitchfork and stabbed it into the monster. Cordelia and the villagers were shocked by what they saw. After that, the monster tried to get up, but the boy used another skill. The next moment, the monster turned into a bloody mess. The goblin fell to the ground, and a second later, a huge foot stepped on him. The dragon appeared before them. He said that the oracle had predicted and it had happened. The monster looked at them and said that the time of danger for the small creatures had come. He noticed that everything was not as he expected and asked what happened. Ryudo told the monster to read his mind because it was a quick way. The monster said that the boy had received a promise, and with this he could not refuse, so he would return to the dragon's lair. Ryudo laughed and said that a word is a word. The dragon said that dragons never lie. The boy asked if he could get the dragon to give him a ride. Cordelia asked him where he was going. The boy said he would go to the dragon's lair and return in 5 years. She asked him why. Ryudo said that Cordelia is a hero, and even though he is stronger now, she is capable of catching up and defeating him within a year. She asked if he would become as strong as a monster, if he would leave the village and that he helped the hero as a peasant. Ryudo said that he had to do that and normal people were no match for heroes. Cordelia said it was obvious. The peasant was stronger than the hero, had done all this while she didn't know. He had been doing it while no one knew. She asked why he was comparing himself to her. She asked why she couldn't protect him. She cried and asked if he could be like this. She hated that she wouldn't be able to see him for years. Ryudo ran up and hugged her. He said that he would definitely come back. After which he climbed onto the dragon and said goodbye. She said that he decides everything from his own desires. Cordelia exclaimed that upon the guy's return she still will not listen to him. In order to fulfill his promise to Cordelia, Ryudo planned to become stronger and then definitely return. He went to the dragon's lair. Dragon's lair. In the middle of the continent, deep in the great forest, there is an unknown territory. In the lair, all the dragons take on human form. It seems that they do this to make it easier for them to build buildings and make clothes. However, the Dragon King's library is surprisingly huge. The girl said that she chooses the one who came the day before. Ryudo said he was supposed to meet the Dragon King. The old man told him to call him Lord. This old man was the human incarnation of the red dragon Ryudo had arrived with. The boy said he had to meet the king. The girl said the king among all the holy Naga races would meet the one who was chosen. Ryudo said she didn't understand and asked her to do something about it. The evil girl said that her name was Lilith and that her parents gave her this name. Ryudo apologized. The girl noticed that he was already 12. The dragon race only accepted those under 12, especially he was not allowed to live there. He also still hasn't paid for the bracelets. They react to his status and show one of 5 rings. Ryudo realized that in order to meet the king, his stats had to be above normal. He asked the girl to look at his card. She looked, then said that he was getting permission to meet. The old man asked what she was talking about. The old man looked at the map and was also surprised. Ryudo asked why he was so surprised since he had read his thoughts. The old man thought it was strange that he had an energy barrier. He thought that even the king would have a hard time reading his thoughts. In other words, it was hard for them to use mind magic against him. Ryudo thought that was useful. This saved him from the trouble of choosing an ability that would protect him from abnormal conditions. Ryudo thanked Lilith and he and the tired old man left. Very soon they were at a meeting with the Lord. He said that Ryudo could raise his head. The Lord immediately knew that the boy was reincarnated because his statistics spoke for themselves. Ryudo asked if there were others like him. The Lord said he had a friend like him. He said that Ryudo would surely understand his sense of style. The boy said that it suited the Lord. The king thanked him and said that these clothes were avant-garde in this world. Ryudo agreed and asked where the Lord got them. The king said that it was an accident like with Ryudo. He had 5 suitcases for traveling and he took them by chance. Ryudo said that he could travel everywhere as a master. The Lord gave the boy permission to read all the books that were in the Demon King's library. The old man said that he was now responsible for the boy, and he would not be able to bear such a burden if Ryudo did something. The king said that in that case he would take responsibility. Anyone with 5 golden rings had the same rights as a dragon, or they could make this person a dragon through a ceremony. Ryudo asked what that meant. The old man said that this was a special treatment that had not been used before. Instead of judging him for his sin, they could accept him as one of the dragons. Suddenly, the Lord said that he had not given the old man the right to raise his head. After that, he fell to his knees. Ryudo was deceived by the king's carelessness. He could get rid of Ryudo in an instant, but he had no intention of changing his usual speech. He asked why the Lord treated him like that. The king said he had 2 reasons. The first was the boy's distorted status. Only the boy's mana was superior to the Lord and he respected it. Ryudo was surprised by the simplicity. The Lord said that it meant showing respect to the strong. He asked if this was the boy's second attempt in the world. Ryudo confirmed it. The Lord said there was another reason for his attitude. He asked if Ryudo could understand that his actions were leading the world to destruction. The boy was very surprised. He asked if he was the cause of the destruction of the world. The king realized that he did not realize it was connected with Cordelia, only one of the 4 oracle heroes in this world and era. The most important people protecting the world from disaster. The Lord confirmed that heroes must destroy the darkness of despair with their swords of hope. He asked if heroes should not be strong men who protect the weak. Ryudo asked what was the matter. The Lord asked what would happen if the peasant protected the hero. From the moment Ryudo repelled the goblins, the story went down the path of madness. Cordelia had to get hurt while protecting Ryudo. Without relying on the hero's favor, she would push herself to the limit to become stronger. The Lord said that it was the same feeling as Ryudo now. He talked about wanting to become stronger to protect his loved ones. That was stronger than anything. A 15-year-old girl became a dragon slayer. He asked if Ryudo thought someone could go there on a whim. The goblin raid was an event that could awaken her, but Ryudo took care of it. He saved his savior and created a series of paradoxes. This was the destiny predetermined for the world, and now they were faced with a dubious transition to another path. Dragon Slayer is the name of a hero who has given his life and effort to prepare for an adventure. The Lord could not foresee everything, and he did not know in what form the disaster would come. However, he did know that the world had fallen into destruction. The Lord was disappointed, but it didn't make sense. Ryudo's actions were about changing the world. Ryudo asked if that meant Cordelia wouldn't last as a hero for long. The Lord said that she wouldn't be able to defeat the dragon again this time and she would die. Ryudo asked if that meant she only needed stronger steel. He said he would take the path of the strong, stronger than a hero. The Lord smiled, thinking about the peasant taming the evil dragon. Ryudo said that he would be Cordelia's replacement and take it upon himself so the hero could be weak like her. The Lord asked if Ryudo would be a heroic protector no matter what. The boy confirmed this. He asked the Lord to hurry up and convey the divine protection of the Dragon King. The Lord grabbed Ryudo's head and asked if he was getting too carried away. The boy said that the dragon path was much more effective, but he would sell his soul to the demons if he did not follow the dragon path. The Lord asked if Ryudo understood the meaning of his words. The boy said that otherwise he would not have wanted it, but that was why he bowed his head. The Lord did not believe these words. The old man thought that he wanted to go home. The Lord asked if Ryudo really thought that he would allow those who were bound to a contract with demons to live. He said that he would listen to Ryudo's last request if there was anything else. The boy said that the king liked this kind of game. The Lord patted him on the head and said that it was true and people like Ryudo were his favorites. After that, they shook hands. With this action, the Lord imparted the divine protection of the Dragon King. It suppresses the primary factors of the peasant in relation to leveling up. With this, Ryudo could level up. In another world, the way to gain experience was by taking the enemy's life force and using it to improve. However, he was always at level 1. Now he improved more easily. Also, profession was a growth level controlled by God's curse. This is corrected by the protection of the dragon god. She changed the growth limits of the peasant to one of the dragoons, which cannot surpass the hero profession. But the growth rate is higher, along with the sage. The Lord said that time was running out and asked if there was anything else. Rita said that was all he wanted. The king asked what the boy would do next. Ryudo said he would work hard to level up. 2 days had passed since the goblin attack. After that, the government sent out researchers to count the losses. The officers wrote down everything the peasants said. They established a law of silence and destroyed all information about Ryudo's birth. They will say that it was the hero's efforts. people asked for an explanation that it was a clouding of memory due to chaos. Upon meeting the MacLane family, Cordelia began to apologize. She couldn't say it right, but she believed that it was her fault that Ryudo went to the dragon's lair. Because of her, he did this madness. MacLane asked the girl not to worry. He left on his own accord, and guys have to be cool in front of girls. MacLane's mother said he was going on a trip. They would protect the house so that he could return. Cordelia was grateful to them. In the forest on the outskirts of the dragon's lair, in the underground labyrinth, the first test of the trial rite took place. Ryudo ran away from the monster and shouted that he could not win. The trial monsters can't leave the room, so Ryudo huddled in a corner. His expedition had been planned for months, and the problem was that he wasn't prepared. Lilith asked if he would give up. This was a trial rite required for a first-level peasant. A few hours ago, they met and Lilith asked if there were signs of a struggle. Ryudo began to explain, but decided not to go into details. He said he had heard that Lilith would leave the dragon's lair tomorrow. He asked if it was true. The girl turned pale. Ryudo said that he thought so. He asked if it was because of him coming. Lilith said that it was none of her business and she had no protector, what the red dragon and the king said. The only condition for humans to live in a dragon's lair is the existence of a dragon watching over them. The dragon of the earth that looked after her has recently grown old. Ryudo knew that people without protectors had to leave the lair. He thought it was cruel because Lilith was a person with 3 golden rings. He asked if there was anything they could do. The girl pulled down her hood and showed the mark on her neck. That was the worst of it, the mark of a slave. It was a symbol of weakness. It was a hard-won coexistence in a dragon world where power was absolute. The brand is a completely brainwashing ability. It is a curse that cannot be undone or erased, making one incapable of going against the rules. Before coming to the lair, Lilith was a slave until she reached the age of recognition. Even now, she was a child and still could not do anything. Ryudo knew that nothing good would happen to Lilith if she returned to the outside world. She said it was okay because she had a name. With a name, she could continue to live anywhere. Ryudo saw Cordelia in her. He wanted to tell her something, but he thought it would be better to say it directly. He handed her the bag and told her to prepare for a journey because they were going underground. He rushed out in a fit of anger, but it all ended the same. He is a human but became a D-rank dragon citizen. To become a guardian, he had to become a mature dragon. So he went through all the formalities to become an adult dragon, all to save Lilith. The girl said that she understood that he was a strong peasant, and she was glad that he wanted to save her. She asked him to stop taking risks. She made her decision as a slave. Ryudo told her to keep quiet. He didn't want her to live like that. She would be in trouble if he died because of her. He had time to back off and take the test later. It wasn't a solution. If Ryudo abandoned her, he couldn't become a replacement for the hero. He was doing this for himself. Lilith didn't answer. Ryudo thought that the soil system was fragile and he could dig right through it. He asked Lilith to collect a lot of branches. Lilith carried a pile of branches into the cave and couldn't help but think that Ryudo had said earlier that freshly cut branches would be extremely useful. But she didn't quite understand why they needed them. Suddenly, the girl was extremely surprised. Right in front of her stood Ryudo, who greeted her. In one of his hands, he held a burning stick, and with the other, he created a fire. Ryudo said that this was the end of the preparation. Lilith looked at the pile of firewood that was lying next to Ryudo and asked when he managed to collect it. Lilith did not see the firewood before leaving. Ryudo said that he held this twig while he walked. If he uses his ability growing crops even on a dry log, it will dry out quickly and become a great log. Ryudo was going to use a fire to create smoke. He studied the information about the trials with the wisdom of the ancestors. The gatekeeper Minotaur is a familiar summoned by dragons. They have conditions such as unable to leave the location and more. Ryudo was curious about what would happen if he threw logs through a hole in the walls and then set them on fire with fire and air magic. 10 hours later, he got an answer. Entering the room, he said that, as a result, they killed the gatekeeper with poison. Lilith was surprised because she did not quite understand what the guy did. They made their way forward, while Ryudo thought that he had risen since he had finished off the guardian. Their next test was the steel golem. Ryudo thought that this place looked just like what was said. The golem was small, with high maneuverability and defense. With its attack, he would not be able to harm it with a sword. In that case, Ryudo decided that he would find another way. He held up a small device in front of him, which quickly rose up and turned into a small shovel. This maneuver somewhat surprised Lilith, who was watching Ryudo's actions. Lilith asked what he was doing. In response, the boy said that he was digging a hole. He was making a trap using the basic skills of a peasant. The guy said it would take some time, so the girl should go and sleep. Lilith said they couldn't do that. They had already spent a lot of time on the first trial, and the dungeon was huge. They wouldn't be able to finish the lower floors in half a day. That's what Lilith thought. Ryudo asked why they had to complete the dungeon in that time. Lilith fell silent. Ryudo said that they were in the dungeon now and no one would come and drive them away. Ryudo asked if they should finish at the appointed time then. Lilith exclaimed that they should. Ryudo asked if she was serious. He told her not to worry about the time in the dungeon. The girl said she still believed that to be true. She said that if they continued to act like this, she would get angry. Ryudo said that in that case, she should get angry. The girl was taken aback, after which she growled at him. After that, she shrank awkwardly. Ryudo thought that she was doing badly what she was saying. He understood what a great person her previous protector was. He decided that he could not leave Lilith alone in this world. 15 hours later, they were going underground as planned. With his enhancements, he ran under the golem. He charged with all his might, then used a series of attacks that successfully knocked the golem into the pit. They looked into the hole with joy. Ryudo said that it was all over for the iron doll without a mind. This hole was covered in oil, and that was enough to prevent him from getting out. This test is meant to train dragons against stupid opponents, and the way to defeat one is to simply throw it into the pit. Lilith asked if that was correct. Ryudo said that he had explained before and his ability was wisdom. They opened the next door. At this point, Ryudo said that he knew there was something better waiting for them ahead. They entered the bonus level. Lilith asked what it was. Ryudo said it was a goblin breeding ground, a feeding place for familiars outside of trials. There are many summoned familiars in the dungeon for testing. Of course, they need a place to feed and grow. Ryudo was grabbed by the goblins and said that this is life being prepared to be eaten. And it's really hard, their lives are cut short for the convenience of others. Ryudo was the same. The guy killed the goblins and said he would get it. He wiped the blood off himself and said that there would be an underground lake further on. On the way, they met a whale catfish. Ryudo asked if it was an island. This guy was slippery and Ryudo couldn't do anything about it. However, they needed to get water and he wanted to wash off the goblin blood. Ryudo lowered himself into the water, which scared Lilith. He told her not to worry because he was prepared for anything. He added that the whale catfish should be hibernating. In the blink of an eye, Ryudo was grabbed and dragged underwater. He thought it was impossible because the catfish couldn't move while hibernating. Suddenly, he realized that the catfish was sleeping, and the one who grabbed it was another one. Ryudo met the monster face to face. He attacked him, not wanting to be underestimated. If he was big, Ryudo could fight. He didn't understand why he still had air, but he figured it was because of the stat boost. He swam upward. He realized that it was the baby whale catfish that had woken up earlier or had broken its hibernation. This would teach Ryudo a lesson not to rely on old literature. Suddenly, the boy was grabbed again. The parent woke up. Ryudo didn't understand why it had woken up from its slumber. He assumed it had smelled blood, or perhaps it was angry for killing the baby. The boy thought that he should find a way to escape right now. Suddenly, he realized that he couldn't use magic. He also drowned in his past life because of Moses. Suddenly, a flash of electricity was heard throughout the water. After a while, the boy was lying on the ground while Lilith coughed loudly. She said that with Ryudo's magic level, she bet that he could withstand it, so she put everything into the punch. She raised her hand and said that she had 3 gold bracelets. Ryudo asked why she didn't run away. He reminded her that when they entered the labyrinth, she promised to run away if he got into trouble. Hearing this, Lilith slapped the guy in the face. She told him not to make fun of her. She asked how she could stand there and do nothing, knowing he was in the water. She began to cry and asked him not to take all the responsibility on himself. He thought of Cordelia again. The girl told him not to waste his life. She asked him not to save her on his own. She asked what she would do if Ryudo died because of her. The boy took her face and suggested that they do everything possible together to survive. He asked if that was enough. Lilith smiled in response. The 4th trial was the Corridor of the Undead. This is more of a labyrinth complex with high-level undead than a corridor. There is no water here, and the only way to replenish supplies is to return to the previous point, the underground lake. Even if the test takes several weeks, it can be completed in 20 minutes. Ryudo jumped down with Lilith in his arms and said that the mission was completed. The rule of all labyrinths: if you notice the mark and change it according to the rule, you will quickly pass the labyrinth. This is a test of knowledge of ancient scripts and recognition of drawings. Lilith noticed that they escaped from each test. She didn't think they could defeat the Guardians at such deep levels like this. Ryudo said that they really couldn't if they continued going down. Together, they looked through the tube. There they saw the 5th trial, the nest of the lower fire dragons. Not a dragon, but a lower dragon. Although lower fire dragons have less brains than a house lizard, they are as dangerous in combat as normal dragons. Lilith said that was why she said to gain experience at early levels. Ryudo agreed with her. The guy threw something out and said that he was all from the upper and lower levels. He took out a shovel and said that they needed to rest first. Lilith wanted to stop him, but he picked her up. He told her not to force herself. After all, she had used all her mana against the whale catfish. It was safe here, and the preparation would take half a day regardless of their choice, so she should rest. After these words, she really began to fall asleep. Lilith remembered the time when she was a slave. People were cruel to her. One day, those who oppressed her were killed by dragons. The girl thought these dragons were beautiful. She was extremely close to her savior, and because of this, she had a very hard time dealing with his aging. She woke up in tears. Lilith wondered how long she had been asleep. It was hot and bright. Ryudo noticed that she had gotten up. The guy was covered in blood when he asked her if she had a good rest. Lilith was very surprised. Ryudo said it was because he was overusing magic. It was bearable with his skill, but it kept taking away his health. He said he would distinguish himself with recovery magic after he finished what he had to do. Lilith asked what it was. Ryudo said it was arson. The girl noticed a large amount of smoke and thought that he had been doing this all along. She exclaimed that this was no way out. Even the dragon's breath could bring down a wooden structure if it was fired continuously, but Ryudo's life force was not so good. Bleeding, Ryudo said there was no point in talking if it could be done. The crazy guy said he had to do it. Lilith thought it was on fire, but it was dangerous. Suddenly, a strong wind arose. The girl was surprised that the fire spread so quickly. Ryudo explained that the roots are connected to the entire frame. He picked up the small seeds that were lying under the building. He said that these roots grow quickly if you add warmth and nutrition to them. Also, if he uses his ability, he will increase the growth rate. It was the incomprehensible power of plants. They can create cracks and destroy strong structures. He raised his hands in a spell and said that all that was needed was to add a little fire and wind into these little cracks. In the blink of an eye, all the dragons were on fire. Ryudo's level instantly began to rise faster and faster. While wiping away the blood, he said that just like a wizard, he needed extensive knowledge of magic to kill an enemy with one blow. He thought about asking the Dragon King about it. He said it looked like he cared about those who had rejected Lilith. He didn't see the point of becoming a dragon guardian now. Hearing this, Lilith couldn't help but laugh and burst out laughing. Wiping away tears of laughter, the girl said that she was amazed because Ryudo had exceeded all her expectations. She could do nothing but laugh. Ryudo looked at her silently, then noticed that monsters were running towards them. He raised his hands and said that it was the end now. He passed level 80 with this. The boy quickly activated the ability, growing agricultural crops which broke through the ground and rose up. Within moments, there was no trace of the monsters. He told Lilith it was time to go back up. They could climb using the remaining supports and vines. He prepared his equipment to deliver finishing blows to the whale catfish and the armed golem. He picked up the Minotaur's huge hammer and said that this was exactly what they needed. Ryudo swung the weapon through the air with ease, then tossed it up and caught it just as easily. He was surprised at how light the weapon was. He assumed it was the effect of leveling up. He smirked, thinking that if that was the reason, he would have to try it again. Together with Lilith, they returned to the second test, the armed golem. Ryudo threw a fishing rod into the hole, then quickly raised the monster up. Swinging his weapon hard, he destroyed the golem. The boy was proud and happy that he had finally reached level 100. After reaching level 100, he could obtain one ability that differentiates an expert from an ordinary one, the Profession Master ability. The ability was weak compared to the magic attack, but it was a great ability for a peasant. Who knows what someone like Ryudo with a magical power of about 20,000 will be capable of? He wanted to find out. Ryudo turned to Lilith and asked if she could wait for him for a little while. After that, the confident guy returned for the third test, the whale catfish. Ryudo immediately activated the skill Peasant's Fury. The guy smiled smugly and thought that this experiment had shown incredible success. However, it would be extremely difficult to use in a real fight. The boy fell exhausted into the arms of little Lilith. He said that the mana drain from this skill was truly impressive to the imagination. The girl was very surprised when she noticed that Ryudo had fallen asleep. She thought that this couldn't be, then she smiled tenderly and sighed. Lilith laid the boy on her lap and stroked his head. They had only one more test left, but this test was much worse. Ryudo held the Minotaur's hammer in one hand and Lilith's hand in the other. The final test was the final battle with the zombie dragon. As they were going down, Ryudo said that the zombie dragon was not much different from the dragon before it died. Lilith said that their souls were kept in their bodies by secret dragon arts after death. Ryudo asked what near death meant. The girl explained that he could not become a guardian in his weakened state even if he was undead. The true purpose of this test was to honor the passing of generations. Old dragons that have become zombies pass on their skills to the victorious new generation in this ritual. Through this ritual, zombies with high divinity can become dragon gods and ascend. This skill increases the threshold of all buffs by almost 1.5 times. It can't be compared to the skill of a level 100 hero, but in order to make a breakthrough to the level of heroes, Ryudo wanted to get this skill at any cost. Together, they walked down the dark corridor. They went down the stairs towards the light. As soon as they came out into a large, bright room, Ryudo noticed that there was an extremely large altar. Together, they came across a dragon of incredible size. Upon seeing it, Lilith immediately recognized it as her father, with whom she spent her childhood. When the girl tried to go to him, Ryudo stopped him and stepped forward with a stern look. He began to analyze what happened in this place. The Earth Dragon, Lilith's father, died about a month ago. There was no sign that anyone had undergone the testing ritual during that time. After undergoing the ritual, it takes at least a month for the labyrinth to be restored to its original state. Ryudo ran as fast as he could and rushed at the dragon. The monster did not wait long and also rushed to attack. Using a large amount of earth, the dragon created small slabs that he began throwing at the boy. Suddenly, Ryudo's face was met with a huge spiked bat. He rolled backwards, then fell on his stomach. The Earth Dragon began to slowly approach the boy, but he noticed that something was holding him back. As it turned out, Ryudo didn't waste any time. The guy managed to activate his skill, growing agricultural crops. Using vines, he chained the dragon to the ground. Ryudo began to rise from the ground. The next moment, the dragon easily raised one of its paws, not even paying attention to the guy's trap. Ryudo was genuinely amazed. He realized that the dragon had figured out his tactics, because the seeds he had previously planted in the monster had instantly opened due to the excessive pumping of mana into them. After getting rid of Ryudo's marks on himself, the Earth Dragon swung his paw hard and hit the boy. With his attack, he knocked the boy down and slammed him into the wall behind him. As Ryudo climbed out of the ground, all he could think was that this dragon was a terrifyingly strong enemy for him. The monster tried to deal the finishing blow to the boy, but he quickly jumped back and rose into the air. After Ryudo got close enough to the monster, he was able to release his fishing rod, which quickly caught on the enemy. The boy smiled mischievously and thought that it didn't look like he could fight this dragon. Suddenly, Ryudo slid violently across the surface and fell down at incredible speed. At that moment, he understood a little about why the dragons considered this battle sacred. Suddenly, he received a strong attack to the face and began to roll even faster while Lilith watched. With this battle, the dragons want to test their strength in order to surpass their former selves. The dragon hit the boy and he shot towards the ceiling like a bullet, leaving cracks and a mark on it. Ryudo couldn't believe how strong his enemy was. Having lost his strength, the boy began to fall down right into the clutches of the terrifying monster. Despite all the difficulty, Ryudo felt that this was incredibly fun. At this moment, the guy used several of his skills, Steel Body and also Demon Gate. The guy pushed me away from the weapon and rushed down. He always used only physical ability enhancement. Even if he used all his skills, he would not be able to compare with a real dragon. However, by using two enhancing abilities at the same time, he had every chance of exceeding the dragon's expectations. The boy swung his arm hard, intending to hit the monster with all the strength he had. To do this, Ryudo activated the skill Peasant's Fury. The attack came in the form of a mind, an ability-defying wave that immediately hit the monster and struck it with that power. Within moments, Ryudo stood before the dragon, who was covered in his own blood from head to toe. With some effort, Ryudo raised the Minotaur's huge hammer, which he swung, wanting to destroy the dragon. Just before he delivered the final blow, Ryudo noticed something that made him change his mind. He dropped the Minotaur's hammer into the ground without delivering the final blow. Lilith, who had been silently watching the bat the entire time, asked why he had stopped. The girl's face was devastated. Breathing heavily, Ryudo said that he couldn't afford to do that. He said he couldn't do it while Lilith was making that face. Looking at her, he saw how sadly she was crying. Her expression conveyed melancholy and regret. The girl herself did not understand why she was shedding tears. Her father had already become a divine dragon, and this was extremely good, or so she only thought. Lilith turned her back to Ryudo and began to wipe away her tears. The boy said that it was because Lilith was human. He asked if she thought the same. He said that although she was used to the various dragon terms, the human part of Lilith in her resisted it and nothing could be done about it. Ryudo said that even so, it was she who needed to finish off this monster with her own hands. It was Lilith who was the child of the Earth Dragon. Being both a dragon and a human, she simply had to do what her father wanted her to do more than anything else. He sternly told her to finally accept the fact that their family had long since fallen apart. Lilith turned around worriedly and said that, in that case, the blessing of the divine dragon would go to her, not him. Ryudo smiled caringly and said that she didn't need to worry about such things because everything would be fine. Tears appeared in the little girl's eyes again. Ryudo told Lilith to show her father that she could handle everything on her own. These words gave Lilith strength. She lowered her hood and walked up to the dragon, then hugged him carefully. Lilith began to cry again, but this time she managed to smile. She sincerely thanked her father for having picked her up sometime in the past and for taking care of her all this time. A bright light emanated from the dragon's body, illuminating the entire room. The dragon's body, which had been lying quietly on the ground, began to crumble in an instant, rising into the air with rays of light and heat. The little girl sat next to these rays, not allowing herself to move away. After a few moments, nothing remained of the dragon except memories. Lilith sat on the floor, dejected, thinking about what had just happened. Ryudo came up to her and hugged her carefully, after which Lilith gave in to herself and began to cry. With great heaviness, she asked him to let her stand in his arms a little longer. It was all she could do at that moment. Ryudo smiled and told her to cry as much as she wanted. After that short conversation, they hugged each other in silence. This moment reminded Lilith of her father, who also hugged her when she was a very little girl. Ryudo asked her if she had managed to calm down. Lilith said that she had, after which she sincerely thanked him for it. After a while, Ryudo held a small paper in his hand, with which he could see his abilities. Ryudo thought that even if he did not receive the skill that he came to this place for, it should have been just a level up. The notification stated that a new skill had been acquired, the name of which was Divine Dragon's Blessing. The effect of this skill was that it increased the threshold of all buffs by 1.5 times. He didn't understand why he had gotten this skill, considering that it was Lilith who dealt the final blow, not him. Suddenly, the guy turned sharply to the girl, who was also holding a piece of paper. She said that she didn't understand anything either. Lilith received a skill called Divine Dragon Guardian Spirit. The effect of this skill was to increase resistance to diseases. It greatly increases growth rate, attack, defense, magic, and evasion. After reading this, Ryudo simply couldn't hold back his laughter. Realizing the entire situation, he stopped even trying, causing him to burst out laughing. Lilith looked at the boy in confusion, who continued to laugh. Ryudo thought that he just knew that something like this would happen to them in this test. Lilith began to ask Ryudo why he was laughing. After the boy was able to calm down a little, he apologized to her. Ryudo also added that Lilith's father, the Earth Dragon, seemed to be a very caring, yet extremely stupid parent. By giving him this ability, it was as if he was asking Ryudo to take care of his daughter. The guy patted Lilith on the shoulder and said that her father was next to her right now. Hearing this, she was very surprised. Ryudo added that his spirit was with her. Hearing this, tears appeared in little Lilith's eyes again. Sometime after this battle, the guys decided to rest and drink tea. Lilith asked what they would do after they returned to the surface. Ryudo said that he was going to spend some time in the Demon King's library. And after that, he would most likely travel around the world, leveling up, collecting skills and various equipment. While drinking hot tea, Ryudo declared that he would become Lilith's protector and vouch for her in the future. He said that this is why she can afford to do whatever she wants. He said that she could even continue her work as a librarian in the city. At this time, Lilith looked at him with some concern. Noticing Lilith's behavior, Ryudo turned around and smiled, asking her if she wanted to go with him or not. In response, the joyful girl said that she would be only too happy. Cordelia wonders when she realized that there is no such thing as a knight in shining armor. She remembers how, as a child, someone came to her to announce that she was a hero, and how she stood in front of a crowd of people who hide their true faces behind a mask. Little Cordelia tells the boy sitting next to her that she will become a hero. She says that she must fight for everyone in this world. The boy asks her what she wants. Cordelia replies that she wants to protect everyone, but she is afraid. She admits that she is afraid of these devils, evil dragons, demon lords, and these smiles too. She wonders what they are hiding behind the expression on their faces. The girl cries, claiming that she can't do it, and even if she wants to believe, she still can't. Ryudo says he will help her. He states that no matter where she is or who her opponent is, he will rush in and defeat them all, so he tells her to be confident and do what she wants. Cordelia remembers that these words of his made her happy. She remembers that this guy seemed strangely adult to her, and in childhood she was like a little sister to him, and he was an older brother to her. She thinks that he is her knight in shining armor. Cordelia realizes that they are different because he is a peasant and she is a hero, and their statuses, growth rates, and skills are all different, so the gap between them is huge. The girl recalls that despite the fact that they were not against it, those around her did not recognize her and did not forgive her, but she was happy. She believes that it is okay for a hero to simply protect the villagers, and protecting every life and their smiles is her job. However, she remembers that this phenomenon happened on her 12th birthday. The peasant became stronger than the hero himself. Cordelia realizes that the boy's strength was 50 to 100 steps behind her at the time, and she never thought he would be able to save her from anything. She wonders if there is such a thing as a knight in shining armor. However, she has a friend who will protect the world with her. The whole crowd laughs and the boy asks her if she told the story again. He says she was a child then, and there is no way a peasant could become stronger than a hero. Cordelia says that thanks to him she escaped death. The boy claps and says that everyone can start laughing. He asks if her peasant left in shining armor with the dragon. He asks if he was so scared that he ran away. The knight tells them not to laugh at the lady. He asks if there are any other stories of young peasants who were able to defeat goblins single-handedly. Cordelia shouts that it is true. The knight replies that despite this, even if the lady were to kill 100,000 goblins now and gain experience with him, given his growth rate, they would not be able to fight side by side anyway. The boy claims that he is currently the one making fun of Lady Cordelia the most. The knight shouts at Cordelia that he certainly did not mean to embarrass her. He adds that he was simply adding a little credibility to her words. Cordelia reflects on the fact that the incident with the goblins 3 years ago was recorded and published to suggest that her magical powers were beyond her control. She remembers that a boy named Ryudo died, and his death clouded and obscured her memory, and they said that this story was an illusion that she herself created. She thinks that if only Ryuto were really here. The girl hits herself in the face and says she's going for a walk and to clear her head. The guy says that if she's going to pick flowers there in the other direction. The knight yells at him that he's drunk. The man hits the boys on the head and tells them to stop acting like that. Another man explains that the only reason they are drinking in the depths of the forest is because of the hero's sixth sense ability, so they should be grateful. Cordelia drinks water from a barrel. She muses that the expedition's target is the sandworms, and they receive direct orders from the enforcers that the monsters here are too strong. And all the knights defeat the monsters with ease and without her help. She begins to sense something strange, and suddenly someone calls her name. The leader of the squad stands in front of her and asks her if something is wrong. The girl only nods, and the leader shouts to all the fighters to pay attention to him. He orders them to form a circle of 5 people per team and remain alert, even if they do not see the enemy in front of them. Everyone prepares for battle, and Cordelia reports that there is only one enemy, but she has a very bad feeling about this. The girl says that they should retreat. The leader of the squad shouts for everyone to fall back and maintain formation. Suddenly, someone cuts off the leader of the squad's head. All the knights look at the dead commander in horror. The girl with the umbrella laughs, asking them if they thought they could escape from her. She wonders if they were trying to escape from her. She states that she will not let anyone escape because she is going to kill them all. Cordelia realizes that it is the evil dragon Amantha. She recognizes the form and her aura and knows that she cannot be mistaken. She remembers that she has been devouring young heroes so far and believes that she is now her target. Cordelia decides that everyone will fight. She turns to the knights, shouting that this is war, and orders everyone to surround her. The knights stand still, not moving at all. Amantha asks her if she is slow-witted. She asks her opinion on why she killed the leader of the group first. Cordelia realizes that the knights relied on her sixth sense, and everyone realized that the evil dragon was stronger than her. She realizes that beyond her title as a hero, she is just a little girl and none of the knights will listen to her orders. The commander shouts at the knights to remain vigilant. He orders them to line up in groups of 3. He shouts at them not to be afraid, claiming that there is only one evil dragon here and if they fight well, she will not defeat them. The knights are inspired and prepare to fight the evil dragon. The knights recall that on the day the new hero was introduced to them, they swore that they would be the knights who would help the hero. The knights cast the wind spell and a gust of air attacks the evil dragon, but she doesn't even move. She then activates her triple shield charge ability. Amantha attacks them with an umbrella. Cordelia realizes that the shields are a ploy, a winning tactic that relies on one person to use parry to seal the enemy's skills and the other 2 to use a counterattack ability. The knight gets injured and realizes that it wasn't sealed, but even so he caught her. Several knights attack the evil dragon Amantha at the same time using the hammer. Amantha cuts off the heads of all the knights who attacked her. Cordelia attacks Amantha, but she steps on her head with her foot and knocks her down to the ground. Amantha holds her foot on Cordelia's head and screams that they are so fragile and soft, because she just stroked them gently and they all broke. She admits that it is so hard for her to contain herself. The knights are frightened and run away in horror before the evil dragon Amantha. Amantha asks them if they are still thinking of running away from her. She exclaims that it is very nice and creates several huge orcs for them, blocking their escape route. The orcs attack the knights. Amantha pulls Cordelia's hair and asks if they called themselves orc slayers. She says the orcs wanted to thank them, so she took them with her and asks what they will do now. The orcs kill the knights one by one, sparing no one. She throws Cordelia to the floor and tells her to look, because her friends have returned to her. Cordelia looks up to see her dead comrades heading straight for her. Amantha asks them if they are lonely. She claims that is why they must defile the hero and the monsters attack Cordelia. The girl, with tears in her eyes, uses her sword to cut down her former comrades. She defeats one orc, shouting at all the knights to calm down. She tells the knights that if they fight with cold blood, they can do it. The knights run away in fear and Cordelia tries to stop them. Amantha kills the escaped knights with the energy bullet. Cordelia thinks that her energy bullet is very heavy. Amantha asks the hero how she feels. She says that she can clearly understand that the hero is in no way capable of organizing this most terrible knightly order. Cordelia cuts the evil dragon's energy ball, and Amantha says that she is good for being able to cut her energy ball. Amantha asks how she will cope with this and attacks her with several magical attacks at once. Cordelia deflects almost all of her blows with her sword. Cordelia, already exhausted, realizes that she can no longer lift her arms. Amantha cheerfully asks if she has given up yet. Amantha attacks her again, and Cordelia manages to dodge at the last moment, but Amantha does not stop her attack on her. The evil dragon laughs, assuring her that this is her last blow, and continues to attack her in different parts of her body. Amantha approaches Cordelia and asks if she knew she was all alone. She asks if she feels lonely. There is a pile of knights on the floor, killed by Amantha or the orcs. Amantha tells her that there are a lot of orcs here and asks if she is happy. Cordelia doesn't answer, and Amantha admits that she really likes it all. The evil dragon Amantha grabs the hero by the hand and says that she loves to watch how orcs eat people. Amantha explains that orcs start eating people from the fingers and toes. She says that at first people scream for help or ask not to kill them during their agony, but soon they begin to want to be killed as soon as possible. Amantha asks Cordelia if she knew that she loves these expressions so much that she allows them to live forever by restoring magic. Amantha exclaims that she will never get tired of looking at this expression, which she simply adores. She admits that she wants to hug him. Amantha laughs, enjoying her victory. Cordelia wonders if she could just avoid this humiliation. Amantha suddenly puts her hand in Cordelia's mouth and pulls something out. She holds it in her hand and asks her what it is. Amantha swallows it and says that it means she planned to end her life with this poison. Amantha asks Cordelia if she knows she failed as a hero. She asks if she has already used the spell Heart Close, which restores psychological status ailments of B-rank heroes. Amantha throws her to the floor, clarifying that she is trying to lose senses before it even begins. She claims to be confused, as it is difficult to dispel a hero's psychological ability. She walks away from her and says that she is the most boring thing during the loss. Amantha is going to kill her completely, claiming that she is really boring. Amantha's magical attack is taken over by Rudo, who suddenly appears. He attacks the orcs, and Cordelia begins to realize what is happening. She gets up and thinks that this can't possibly happen. She looks at him and realizes that this is her knight in shining armor. Rudo turns around and apologizes to her, saying that he was late. He says he heard that Cordelia met the evil dragon Amantha in the forest, but he wasn't privy to all the details. He says he arrived at her door after hearing bright flashes from magic shots. He heals her with magic and helps her to her feet. He asks if her hand is shaking. Cordelia says she promised and admits she doesn't listen to him anyway. Rudo hugs her, apologizing for causing her trouble again. Cordelia begins to cry in his arms. Amantha attacks them with magic, but he defends himself with his wark and covers Cordelia with his body. The evil dragon exclaims that it's cool that he was able to defend himself from her magic bullet again. Rudo asks Amantha not to go into the church for their next meeting, even though he finally got a good brew. Amantha asks the boy who he is. She asks if he is a hero but adds that he does not have a hero's smell. Rudo smirks and asks if he is. Rudo confidently says that he is a peasant and asks what happens now. The girl says that she doesn't feel anything from him, but she wonders if it's really because he's a peasant that makes him so strong. She thinks to herself that it's strange, but she really doesn't feel anything from him. The guy asks ironically that, on the other hand, it didn't help her much that she was an evil dragon. The girl just smiled at him in response. Rudo looks at the bodies of the fallen knights and asks her if she had a reason to kill them. He wonders if dragons seek out battles with strong opponents and if this wasn't just a simple massacre. The girl responds by asking what reason she might have to crush them. She clarifies that if it's so important, then maybe because it was funny. Rudo attacks her, trying to cut off her head and screaming at her to stop laughing. The girl manages to dodge his attack. She dodges all the blows, and then he clarifies that he does have a very rare sword. She asks where he got it from. She lands on the tip of his sword's blade and says that this sword doesn't seem to suit him at all. He sheathes his sword and replies that he thinks so too. Cordelia thinks that Rudo has become very strong. The young man shouts at her not to interfere in this fight. Ryudo asks her to leave it to him. He says that he is more than enough for this evil dragon and adds that he wants to believe something. He asks Cordelia to take care of the remaining orcs and yells at the evil dragon to follow him. Cordelia turns around and sees a crowd of huge orcs in front of her. The evil dragon flies after him, telling him not to run away. She claims that he provoked her, so now she wants to play with him. She says she's curious about what he wanted to experience. She asks what funny thing he said. Ryudo lands on the ground and says he'll tell her. He activates the skills Physical Ability Enhancement, Steel Body, and Demon Gate. He punches her hard in the face, sending Amantha flying backwards. She flies back a few meters. Ryudo moves towards his opponent lying on the ground. Amantha scares the boy with her face. She asks him if he is scared. She admits to him that she was surprised. She says that making a hole in her when she is relaxed with one attack is a simple but effective solution. Amantha claims that the attack was weak because he was unable to defeat her. She builds up her power and Ryudo kicks her. He attacks her and takes her head off, but it quickly regenerates. She wants to say that he is quite good, but she doesn't have time to finish because he attacks her again. Amantha realizes that his attacks are not stopping and does not understand what is happening. She begins to get angry and screams that she does not believe it. She begins to activate her powers and humorously apologizes for throwing him off his rhythm. She tells Ryudo that she will show him a little of her true power. He asks if this is the sending ability that only the dragon race can use. He declares that he can use it too. Amantha is shocked by his words. She asks in confusion how a simple peasant can use the secret ability of the dragon race. Ryudo replies that after a series of events, he has been unofficially appointed as the next Dragon King. He shows her the ring and tells her to look at it, as it is proof of his words. Amantha exclaims that this is impossible. She screams, asking if he stole the ring. She screams that he did because there is no other way to explain why a peasant can use Dragon God's Come, which is only available to the Dragon King. He starts to activate the ability Dragon God's Arrival and asks if this is what she was talking about. He says that it is her turn now and asks her to show him what she can do. She thinks that this can't be because he is neither a warrior nor a hero but just a peasant, yet he uses secret dragon abilities one after another. She realizes that this is not an illusion, and this is truly the dragon god's coming. Amantha wonders what is it really that she is trembling, and she, the most terrible and evil dragon, is frightened by a simple peasant. She reflects on how this guy didn't use magic at all. She realizes that if she thinks about it working as something like a peasant, he shouldn't be able to use magic because it's closed to him. She uses bind. Binding deprives the young man of any mobility and the ability to use his abilities. Amantha is happy and laughs, saying that since he turned out to be the next Dragon King, she thinks he is capable of anything. However, his mind is not capable of using defensive magic, and he was so foolish that he did not wear anti-magic equipment. She declares that she will show him her true power. She tells Ryudo that this is her full power, and she is known as abnormal due to the number of demon eyes she possesses. Amantha approaches him and explains that when the demon eyes are activated, her magic is amplified 3 times. She asks him if he knew that there is no man who can resist her charm. She takes him by the chin and asks him to become her servant, telling him that she will treat him well. Ryudo kicks her and replies that she shouldn't show him something so dirty, adding that he almost threw up. Amantha falls to the floor, writhing in pain, and the boy asks if she is saying that this is her full power. He admits that he knew in advance that her dragon charm would have no effect on him. He thanks her, saying that thanks to her, he felt that he had truly become much stronger. He claims that he is finished with her and tells her to die. Amantha asks herself what he said. She reflects on how she, the one who is the embodiment of strength, the one whose strength is at the level of calamity, the one who, because of her strength, is considered a heretic of the most powerful dragon race. She asks what, did he really dare to treat such an evil dragon as Amantha like a dog, and ask her to die. She smiles terribly and thinks that she agrees to die. Amantha muses that death has no meaning to an evil dragon, and even if they die of old age or in battle, they will still rise again in their prime after a time. She realizes that the next time will be in 300 years, but then this guy will no longer be around, and in the future she will have to play with other, weaker opponents again. Ryudo pulls out his sword, which glows with magic, and tells her that there will never be a next time for her. Amantha wonders why he has changed so much. She asks him not to tell her what kind of sword it is. However, Ryudo announces that it is a holy sword that completely destroys evil dragons. The young man is about to deliver the final blow when they hear something. Cordelia shouts to Ryudo that she has defeated all the orcs and can now help him. Amantha realizes that this is her last chance and she just needs to grab this girl. Amantha tries to grab the girl, but she is hit by a magical attack. Suddenly, Lilith appears. Cordelia is surprised by her appearance and Lilith turns around, telling her that she is very annoying. Amantha asks Lilith who she is and where she came from. The girl replies that who she is does not matter. Ryudo says that it is because he is going to destroy her right now. Amantha yells at him to wait, because if he kills the evil dragon, something might happen to the balance of the world. However, the young man immediately cuts her in half. Cordelia asks if it was a god killer and not a murder or sealing. Ryudo tells her that he destroyed her soul forever so that she can't come back. Cordelia, clutching her head, admits that her head is splitting from all these details that she does not understand. Nevertheless, she joyfully welcomes his return and runs to him. Lilith stops Cordelia, telling her that it is dangerous to be around him now because he has not yet sealed the curse. Cordelia asks her what she is talking about. Lilith explains that as he grew stronger, he began to take on many taboos. And while he is immune to most ailments, the curse is a different matter entirely. Cordelia asks again what she is talking about, and Lilith replies with irritation that the power he holds in his hands is also a curse that is slowly eating away at him, and he can only use his power within her protective barrier. Lilith informs him that this is the price he paid for using such power with his peasant body. Cordelia exclaims that this is not what she asked. She wonders why he must stand so far away from her. Ryudo says that he promised to save her, asking if that was true. He states that he will do everything to be by her side. Cordelia is very happy to hear this, and then she thanks him. Ryudo smiles back at her. However, Cordelia and Lilith simultaneously ask him irritably who this woman is, pointing their fingers at each other. A few days before the destruction of the evil dragon. Night libraries. Lilith stands near a huge door and then she opens it. Lilith found a book. Lilith muses that the secret dragon tome is a book filled with records of primordial magic, created throughout the entire existence of the dragon race. She recalls that initially this volume was not a book that ordinary people could read. However, 2 years and 1 month ago, something happened that made it possible. The man slams his fist on the table and exclaims that this is unacceptable. He shouts that this is acceptable if it was the one who completed the test, since only 3 gold rings of the servant give the opportunity to read the secret tome, and this is ridiculous. He says that there is no way they can give their consent to this. The man claims that even if it is an order from the Lord himself, they really cannot approve of it. The man next to Ryudo says that this is a problem and they are all right in some way. He claims that this won't help and suggests that he stop at this. He says that power equals justice. Ryudo hits the man on the arm, leaving cracks on the table. The man says he sees his strength, the power of a champion of justice. He apologizes for his rudeness. Ryudo tells him not to worry and suggests they continue their conversation. The man asks if it is true that by allowing his daughter to read the secret tome, he too will become stronger. Ryudo replies that from now on he will become stronger and stronger. The man says that this is what is to be expected from him. Lilith calls Ryudo. She asks if he is going to leave her. The young man replies that she would only be a hindrance to him now, and besides, right now he will not be able to protect her constantly. Ryudo states that he will train alone for 2 years, and Lilith will be able to learn everything necessary to read the secret tome. He promises her this, and Lilith agrees with him. She reflects on how, since then, she has devoted all her time to studying. She reflects on the fact that she has stored in her mind all the spells that were in that secret tome. However, she remembers that since she was not a dragon, no matter how many spells she memorized, she did not know how to use them. Lilith believes that this can be compared to animals. Even if they understood their language, they would not be able to tell them about it. She wonders if any of this makes any sense. She thinks that this promise is already 2 years old, and perhaps he made it only to leave her. Lilith believes that the only thing this guy needed was the ability of the divine dragon's blessing, and he kept this hope alive in her. Ryudo, turning to Lilith, expresses his admiration that she actually did it. Lilith hugs him. She says that it's been too long since he left her, and Ryudo apologizes to her. He asks if she can use magic now. Lilith replies that she can use any fundamental magic from basic to advanced, and her magic item skills are also maxed out. He asks about dragon magic. Lilith reminds him that she can't use it. Ryudo says that he meant how much she read. Lilith replies that if she were a dragon, she could use 70% of the magic's power. Ryudo pats her on the head and says that she really did a good job. He claims that he was late because he was looking for the item for her and pulls out a ring for her. He puts a ring on her finger and asks her to accept it. Lilith thinks about him putting it on her left ring finger. The young man asks if she is ready. He says that time is running out and asks her to run for her things. Lilith asks him what she needs to be prepared for. Ryudo replies that it is to destroy the evil dragon. A few hours after defeating the evil dragon, Cordelia receives a letter by Dove. She informs them that reinforcements will arrive in about 2 hours. Ryudo asks her if she wants to stop playing the hero and run away from all of this. He says he will come up with an explanation, like being killed by a dragon or going on a journey, and suggests that they simply run away. Cordelia tells him that this is a tempting offer. She exclaims that, however, she is a hero. She says that she will never run away, and even though she is weak now, she will definitely surpass him. Ryudo claims that he knew it. Ryudo and Lilith leave together, and the boy declares that he will save her again as many times as she needs, and tells her not to dare die. After they leave, Cordelia remembers that she forgot to ask him about the hooded girl. Lilith walks with his hand in hers, and the boy asks him to let him go. Lilith says that she rejected Ryudo's kindness, and she never thought that a hero could be like this. Lilith admits that she thought they would just help her from the shadows. Ryudo replies that it was impossible in that situation. He believes that he is the reason for her current weakness. He reflects on how in her past life Cordelia killed the evil dragon herself. But in this life she has already reached her limit, as the events have already been rewritten. But even so, she still remains the key weapon of humanity because this is her destiny. Lilith replies that she does not care about the fate of humanity and its heroes. She adds that the collapse of humanity would not even affect them if they lived in the dragon village. She shows him her ring, which Ryudo put on her middle finger. The young man tells her that the Ring of Nocturne is a very rare item and asks her not to lose it. Lilith explains that the ring on the middle finger of her left hand means that they are now engaged. Ryudo replies that if it bothers her so much, she can wear it on her right. He adds that it just works better on the left hand. Lilith is upset, but Ryudo doesn't notice and asks what's going on there since it's so noisy. They see a carriage in front of them with an army walking behind it. Ryudo realizes that this is a nobleman's procession and bows. Lilith looks at him and says what kind of worthlessness she sees. Ryudo says that he simply does not want problems and advises her to bow to him too. A nobleman passes by Ryudo and Lilith and orders them to stop. He gets out of the carriage and his knight approaches him, but the nobleman tells him to stop and wait where he is, as it is nothing. The man approaches Lilith and orders her to remove her hood. Lilith looks at Ryudo and he nods for her to do so. Lilith removes her hood and the nobleman says that she is a runaway servant. The man says they are going to the guild and grabs her, telling her to follow him. Lilith feels pain and Ryudo realizes that was her keyword. Ryudo yells at them to wait. He states that he found her first, so he will take her to the guild himself. Ryudo wonders if this is true and that he doesn't care about matters involving servants, so all he can do is tell empty lies. The man throws his ring to Ryudo and continues to drag Lilith along with him. Ryudo shouts that he told them to stop and grabs the nobleman's arm. He grabbed the man so hard that he accidentally broke his arm. The boy quickly removes his hand and apologizes to him. The man shouts that he dared to attack a nobleman and orders his men to kill this commoner. And the knight on horseback immediately attacks Ryudo. The horses start acting strangely, and the nobleman asks the knights what happened. They apologize and don't understand what's happening to their horses. Ryudo tells the nobleman to calm down and let him heal his arm. The nobleman tells the gladiator Maris that he is too late. He promises him that he will grant him his forgiveness if he punishes them. The gladiator prepares for battle. Ryudo thinks that he didn't want it to end like this and asks Lilith to step back a little. The gladiator attacks the young man, but he manages to dodge. He strikes one blow after another. Ryudo easily dodges them all. The young man remembers that in the Adventurers Guild there is a title that is given only to the most cruel among them. And Marissa is exactly that B-rank gladiator. He thinks about how his range is called the Absolute Domain, where he deals thousands of fatal blows to the enemy. He thinks about how he leaves behind only blood-soaked bodies, which is why he is called the Blood Altar. The nobleman shouts at Ryudo that it's all over for him and that vile look will soon turn into a bloody mess. He says he wants to see it quickly. Ryudo thinks that the gladiator is so weak, and if he starts hitting seriously, he will simply kill him. The young man realizes that, as expected from a B rank, he has a good reaction, and even if he hits the floor, it will be dangerous. Ryudo trips and falls as the gladiator smirks and attacks him. The gladiator's jaw hits the tip of Ryudo's sword and he falls, losing consciousness. The man asks what just happened. The doctor replies that all he saw was Marissa bump into the peasant's scabbard. Ryudo picks up the gladiator's body and throws it right into the nobleman's face. He tells the doctor to take Marissa and the nobleman to the infirmary. Ryudo asks him to tell the nobleman that this girl is a dear comrade to him, and if he dares to touch her again, he will die. Lilith hangs on Ryudo, hugging him, and he says that it is even harder for him to walk like this. Lilith replies that Ryudo definitely said that she is his precious, so now he can't get out of it. She says that she now knows the true meaning of Ryudo's ring, and he is just embarrassed to admit it. Ryudo admits that he didn't think that the servant's seal would cause them such serious problems. He tells her that their task now is to remove her servant's seal, and to do that they need to go to the guild. Lilith thinks about how if Ryudo becomes her master, then she is his thing, and when that happens their bond will become deeper. The boy asks if she is listening. Ryudo and Lilith admire the view of the city. He says that this is the city of the ocean turret, and it is also called the city of traders. They came here from Saba itself. He says that they have 3 goals. The first is to find the guild and remove its seal of the servant. The second is to have a good rest and raise their level, and he decides that the third goal is not so important, so he suggests that they focus on the first 2 points first. He tells Lilith not to worry. The young man promises her that he will not leave her alone. At the guild, Ryudo shouts that they are joking since they demand 10 gold coins and asks if the cost is not 1 or 2 gold coins. The guild member replies that this is only for the old and obedient, and this girl has the seal of a servant of the highest quality. Ryudo says that life is pain. The woman says that even if he had money, a simple peasant has no right to buy this girl without some kind of guarantor. She says that if a runaway servant is returned to the association, she is willing to take her back for a fee. She offers him another servant. The employee adds that even if he is a peasant, she can give him one of the best girls, but Ryudo refuses, and he and Lilith leave the guild. The woman quotes Shakespeare, and Romeo will lie with her golden on the poor victims of blind feud, and says that it seems that the girl has the same hopes. She thinks about what a spoiled girl she is. At the Rising Sun Inn, a waitress serves food and drinks. Ryudo sadly reports that he has no money at all. Lilith asks about the money he received from the Dragon King. The young man replies that he already tried to exchange it, and it ended with a noose around his neck. He says that he managed to escape, although it is suspicious that the peasant has so many gold coins and wanted to get rid of them quickly. Ryudo says he has 2 gold coins and asks how much she has. Lilith replies that she only has 5 silver coins. Lilith and Ryudo are upset about the money situation, and the boy decides that they must earn money. He says that there is plenty of work in this city, and besides, they are in no hurry. Suddenly they hear someone loudly asking if he knew. Men at a nearby table are discussing people who have recently died. A man tells them that not far from the brothel, a man has died again, a horrible death as usual. Ryudo tells Lilith that they are disgusting people and offers to move. The man continues his story, saying that the dead were recently identified as the escaped servants, and Ryudo begins to listen to their conversation. The man says that he managed to hide his seal, but it turned out that the seal has its own peculiarity and its magic becomes unstable over time, and eventually the brain of the seal's bearer explodes. He says that wearing the seal is quite a risk. Ryudo suddenly approaches the man and asks him to tell him everything he knows about it. The man, stunned, asks him who he is. Lilith and Ryudo are sitting in a hotel, and the young man realizes that this mark of hers is a real problem. He reflects on the fact that the seal has a set expiration date, and if its bearers stop receiving the magic of their master, within 10 to 15 years, the seal itself will begin to disappear. He realizes that this is the problem, because when the seal disappears completely, it will burn out the owner's brain. Bones and even nerves will be torn apart, and there will be terrible pain from which there is no escape, and then death. Ryudo recalls that 10 years ago, bandits attacked a cart of a supplier of illegal goods, and there were quite a few owners of the seal who managed to escape, and now they are dying a horrible, painful death. Lilith says she realized the seal had shrunk about a month ago. Ryudo realizes it's a sign, and about 2 months after the seal shrinks, the host dies, meaning they have about a month or even less than half a month left. Ryudo decides that he must quickly obtain Lilith's ownership and give her his mana. He contemplates simply kidnapping the shopkeeper when Lilith loudly calls his name. She reassures him that she is still alive, and Ryudo agrees with her. He tells them that they have a whole month left. He says that they need money, and to earn enough, they will have to work much harder than they originally planned. At the Adventurers Guild, the girl says that it's impossible. Ryudo screams, asking where he can find money then. She explains that to register they must be at least 12 years old and have a protector. She says that when an adventurer wants to join the guild and brings younger siblings, they can register them. The girl says that it is written on their faces that they will work even under threat of death. She asks how they can take such people into the guild and states that they will not allow people to die. Lilith wants to ask a question. Lilith asks if they can join if they have a guardian. The girl says they can, but she admits that she doesn't think they'll be welcome unless they have some very rare skills or special abilities. Lilith states that she has inventory, a rare skill that she has at max level, and asks the adventurers if anyone wants to be in a party with them. All the adventurers are silent, and Lilith asks for at least one. The man from the tavern asks if she is serious. The two men say they will help them and ask the guild administrator if they can register now. She replies that she will prepare a registration form for them now. Ryudo says that they are those same guys and asks why they decided to help them. The man replies that they just thought they were desperate. He whispers in Ryudo's ear that they just heard about the murders at the inn from them. He exclaims that it's a joke and they just want to use her skills, admitting that all their money stays in the inn, leaving them with no money left for servants. The man with long hair says that they don't need him for free and they only need this small and cute girl. The man tells Ryudo to wait here until he is registered, and his partner tells Lilith to follow him. Lilith twists the man's arm and screams at them to leave. His partner screams at her, how dare she do that. Lilith starts using magic and he exclaims that it can't be happening. He asks if she's creating such a curse inside the building. Ryudo curses and realizes that he can already see the veins on her face. He remembers that serious fights between adventurers are strictly forbidden by the guild. He realizes that she could be thrown into prison, which would make it even harder for them to make money. He decides that Lilith can't be allowed to kill people over something like that. Lilith realizes with horror that her magic is fading. Lilith asks what happened to her magic. Ryudo wonders what could have happened to her magic. The man attacks her, shouting that she made him nervous, but her magic wasn't so good. He pulls out his sword, saying that he can't let her go now. Ryudo attacks the man and tells him to stop. He asks if he still remembers that they are in the guild now. He is knocked unconscious by his blow, and his partner is surprised that Ryudo did it with only one hand. He approaches the administrator and asks her to register them in the guild and put him in the leader position. She agrees and says that she will call him again in a while when the registration is finished. The man with the eye patch tells Lilith and Ryudo not to worry about him and just do what they wanted, since they had already proven to him quite convincingly that they had power. Ryudo thanks him. The boy says that they can call him Gilminas, and he is known as the Noble Sage. Gilminas admits that he only helped them so that they would be indebted to him, as he felt that he was on the same level as him. Ryudo wonders if this man might be stronger than him. Ryudo wonders if Gilminas has reincarnated like him. The administrator thanks Gilminas for waiting, calling him a B-rank mage. He shouts that he is a noble sage just like he said. The adventurer says that it's unusual to meet a B-level adventurer, and tells Ryudo that they were recognized by a pretty cool guy. Gilminas replies that strong people attract each other. He admits that he is sure that they will meet again in the future and bids them farewell. Ryudo and Lilith approach the Adventurers Guild's order board, and the boy notices the other adventurers' gazes in their direction. Ryudo says that while attack and defense are equally important, it is equally important to predict the enemy's intention and not to let the enemy do what he wants, and it will be difficult to use this approach in every fight, so they have other options. He claims that they can use what happens as a valuable experience. The boy suggests to Lilith that they become stronger together. Lilith reflects on what the man called her and does not understand how she could lose to such a man. Ryudo realizes that they still haven't found a good way to make money. He reads that there are a couple of B-level quests available that give 5 or more silver coins, and one C-level quest that gives 8 silver coins. He understands that the most that newbies can hope for is an E-level quest, and without any achievement, they will not be able to join a higher-level quest unless they join a higher-level party. Lilith says that even the hardest E-rank quests are a maximum of frying French fries for 12 copper coins, and even then, no one will buy anything from them unless they have some kind of guarantee. Ryudo points to a notice board for adventurers and suggests a quest similar to the one on the board. Lilith reads that it is a collection quest. The young man says that one of them is suitable for them. He recalls that the rainbow fruit is a precious fruit called Sweet Nature Jewel, and they grow in the wild and were thought to be uncultivated. He believes that even with his skills, he cannot do it. Lilith asks if he thinks the reward for this is somehow quite high for a quest of this level, since a single piece of fruit promises a whole silver coin. Lilith suggests that the level of the quests is based on their difficulty and danger. Ryudo says that this is true, although the tree of this fruit is not rare and the fruit itself is of great significance. He believes that finding one is a miracle. Ryudo announces that a level 342 peasant, that is, one like him, has the necessary skill that can be used specifically for such cases. The next morning in the city of Terf in the foothills, they set out to get a rainbow-colored fruit. The young man reports that they have reached their destination and asks Lilith if she wants to rest. He tells her to eat something from their supplies. Lilith takes out a piece of black bread that has started to get moldy and looks at it with disgust in her eyes. Ryudo asks if she is eating it, and Lilith replies that it is no longer edible. Ryudo claims that as long as she can chew it, it's okay. He tells her to remember that this way they can save money. Lilith asks why he bought so much soap and a big bucket, and the boy replies that they need it. He says that as expected from a max-level spatial pocket, it holds a lot of soapy water and is incredibly convenient. Ryudo states that soapy water is the key to leveling up. Lilith asks if they weren't going to look for a rainbow-colored fruit. Ryudo replies that she is wrong and they need to find that fruit, but they are also looking for one more thing. He activates his skill crop cultivation, simple surface view. He looks around the surface and stands up, asking if it's there. He asks Lilith to wait for him. Ryudo uses physical ability enhancement, heightened senses, falcon's eyes, and presence sensation, and immediately finds the fruit. The young man quickly picks the fruit from the trees and reflects that, as expected, the rainbow-colored fruit in the forest is easy to spot, which means there must be a lot of animals around it, and that's why everyone wants to pick them even though they're just starting to ripen. Lilith watches him quickly pick fruits from different parts of the forest. 2 hours later, he returns and says that this is indeed a very rare fruit. He is glad that he was able to find and collect a whole bucket of rainbow-colored fruit. Lilith counts the amount of fruit and says that there is enough for a whole gold coin. Ryudo says that he could not find another thing and suggests that they end it here. They hear strange sounds and turn to the forest. They see several monsters running out of the forest. Ryudo assumes that they came running to them for the smell of fruits. He says that it is quite unusual to see monsters in this area. The young man tells Lilith to try to defeat all these monsters herself. Lilith agrees and uses her magic to destroy them. Ryudo cuts the last goblin with his sword and asks Lilith if she has used up all her mana. Lilith stands there, leaning on her staff, completely exhausted. The young man asks her if it hurts when she has no mana and offers to take some mana from him. Using the Ring of Night, he gives her his mana and asks if she realized what her mistake was during the fight. He declares that she was reckless in using such large-scale magic. He says that when facing an unknown enemy using this approach, she will quickly exhaust her mana and be left alone. He advises her to consider her mana when fighting. Ryudo adds that she won't be able to escape, and on top of that, her level is still low. Lilith gets upset and Ryudo comforts her by stroking her head. He says that she can learn a lot of high-level magic when she levels up. Lilith replies that she doesn't have any rare skills and can only use basic magic. The young man tells her to just do what she can because he is counting on her. He watches Lilith looking upset when he senses something. He suddenly turns around and the girl asks him worriedly what happened. Ryudo exclaims that it's a jackpot. There are big monsters in front of them. Lilith asks if it is an insect. She made her and Ryudo invisible, including their powers, smell, and sounds. Ryudo replies that the insect is a mutant, a rabid water strider, and that it is the other thing he told her about. He explains that they are using their skill now, blending into the lake using good camouflage. He admits that he doesn't think her other skills will allow her to use anything against them. Ryudo and Lilith set a stone filled with his power as bait. He tells Lilith that they only found these monsters thanks to her. She asks if these insects can be useful to them. He shows his scar and claims that they are quite strong, and if she acts thoughtlessly, this will happen. He says that he already met similar individuals 6 months ago. He explains that their defense is strong and no physical attack can seriously injure them. But magic will not work against them either, because they cast a magical barrier on themselves, and their mana is enough to maintain it for about 7 days. Ryudo claims that they are even stronger than the evil dragon, but they rarely emerge from underwater, so everyone mistakenly thinks that these monsters are harmless. He admits that he heard that if you defeat them, you can get a whole sea of experience. And then a brilliant idea came to him on how to defeat them all with one blow. He yells at Lilith to get going. She uses full drawer opening and throws out all the soapy water. He shouts that it is time and tells them to kill them. Lilith, using magic, kills them all. Lilith admits that it was pretty simple when you think about it. Ryudo clarifies that he said so. The young man declares that oil and water do not mix, and their feet were covered with a special layer that allowed them to stay on the surface of the water. But with the soapy water they poured out, they lost their footing and their barrier also did not work. Ryudo thinks that it was not for nothing that he watched something like that in his real world, because it turned out to be quite useful for him. He says that his plan with magic attacks turned out to be quite simple and reliable. S-rank monsters nearby that they can defeat, however, what they did technically was defeat a horde of that rank monsters, so her level will jump up enormously. Ryudo holds up a bag of money and says that in the end, they were able to get 1 gold coin, 5 silver coins, and 20 copper coins for the 7 rainbow fruits and the potato. He thinks that they worked hard enough for that reward in 1 day. Lilith clarifies that it means they don't have a quest to collect fruits anymore, since they got everything they could. Ryudo replies that everything is under control, and what they were aiming for was recognition from collecting rare items. The girl asks why she has been seeing his aura for a long time, not to mention that he changed the amount. Ryudo wants to answer, but suddenly a man grabs him by the clothes, saying that he finally found them and advising them to get ready. The man claims that Ryudo must be curious about how he found them. He explains that he knows the aura of everyone in this city, so finding the unknown was easy for him. The boy thinks that he simply let them find him. The man asks if he thought he could go down so easily, breaking his nose and his partner's arm. Ryudo wonders if they were healed by healing magic. Lilith grabs his arm, feeling fear. The man says that he knows he doesn't want to look bad in front of the guild, so they have a special opponent. He yells at the bodyguard master that he'll leave them for him. Ryudo realizes that they don't intend to fight him. The gladiator offers to leave them his name as a souvenir. He says he is Marissa, a B-level gladiator, and that he hopes they are ready to face the end of their adventures. Upon seeing Ryudo, he suddenly bows and apologizes to him for his insolence and rudeness. He says that he is grateful for his generosity and is completely satisfied and will never forget his generosity. Ryudo thinks that this is to be expected from someone with a B-level. The adventurers ask him what happened. They tell him to start beating them because they promised him a lot of money for it. Marissa screams, asking how they could think that he would sell his life for some dirty money. He apologizes to Ryudo, promising that he will punish these people severely for their insolence. Ryudo says that it must be karma. He explains that when they meet someone, karma is created. He says that if she holds a grudge, karma will follow her, and it won't end if they kill the hated person, because then new karma will be born. Ryudo states that it is not so easy to free oneself from this karma. And speaking of all this, he advises her to always be prepared to answer for her actions. Lilith muses that if this is true, then their destinies are intertwined, meaning they cannot be separated so easily. The next day, a strange girl tells Ryudo that his aura tells her that she can come and talk to him at any time. Ryudo agrees with her words and invites her to sit at their table. He thinks about how they have a jackpot today. Ryudo asks her if she wanted something from them. She replies that she wants to offer them mandrake harvesting. She says that while the reward may vary, she can offer them about 10 gold coins for it. Lilith tells Ryudo to wait, as mandrake is considered a B-rank material, so it won't be possible for F-rank adventurers. She adds that 100 grams of mandrake costs a silver coin at the store, so this is a very suspicious order. The customer says that the quest is designed for one adventurer, so for the two of them, it will be just fine. She claims that the price of mandrake is currently rising, and she needs it as quickly as possible. She asks Ryudo if speed is also important to them. Ryudo thinks that this jackpot is even bigger than he originally thought. The young man asks the girl what made her think that. She tells him that she heard on the wind that there is a peasant who has completed 7 fruit-picking quests, beaten a B-level gladiator not once, but twice, and who is urgently looking for money to free his friend. She explains that the lady sitting in front of him is actually a senior professor at the Magic Academy and the best alchemist. She says that her quest is from the university, so they don't have to worry at all. She adds that she will also tell how the peasant can buy the servant out if he agrees to her offer to collect the mandrake. Ryudo says that he has never heard of a high demand for mandrake before. He muses that he knows that mandrake is an important ingredient for the preparation of the substance, vital recovery, and its supply has never been low. He realizes that even if it were very rare, it was cultivated as much as possible, and it is a common herb, not one that you can die from if you pull it out. The girl says that this is a secret now, but she tells that for some reason, due to an unknown disease, they lost all the mandrake that they had in stock. She assumes that it was a sign of some great disaster. She claims that some of it was processed and put on the market, but it was too bad. Ryudo assumes that she wants to tell them that there are still mandrakes left near the city. The girl replies that this is exactly the case, but the location itself is really dangerous. She says that the mandrakes are on their way to the Araki's volcano, before which they will find a forest with many monsters, basilisks. She says that they will of course join the group. The man says that they are a group of A-rank adventurers, the Hakuno clan. He asks Ryudo and Lilith not to delay them. They are surrounded by basilisks and Ryudo realizes that there are too many of them and they are too big, being larger than normal basilisks. He stands and senses something is wrong. Lilith asks if something is bothering him. Ryudo tells her that he senses an even more powerful and dangerous monster ahead. He states that he is still far away and he will go first, check, and if possible try to kill him. He says that he will leave these monsters to her and hopes that she will be able to defeat them herself. He leaves and shouts that he went on reconnaissance. Someone from the team shouts back at him that he is a coward. The team encounters a large monster. A man shouts that this must be a joke. He asks where in this forest such a monster came from. Someone asks if it is a manticore. Ryudo fights the other monsters at the same time. The man asks everyone to calm down because they have a B-rank mage for such cases. He exclaims that the mage has escaped, and his comrade shouts that they should also leave already. He throws Lilith towards him and offers to leave her as bait. The group captain yells at him, how dare he do this. The man tells him to shut up, saying he doesn't remember him voting for him to be the leader of their group. The manticore attacks Lilith, and she attacks him with magic but realizes that her magical attacks won't even scratch him. The team captain appears in front of her, protecting her. He shouts that he will hold off the monster, and in the meantime she must try to save herself. Lilith declares that she will not run away and even she is capable of fighting. He exclaims that she is not weak and suggests that they defeat this monster together. The monster quickly defeats their captain, and Lilith stands there wondering why she is so weak. The monster attacks her, but at the last moment Ryudo appears with a sword and easily defeats the beast. He hugs Lilith, saying he's glad she's okay. He claims she did a good job. Ryudo asks her why she didn't run away like he asked her to. He turns to the team captain, thanking him for protecting Lilith. The man, stunned, asks him who he is. At the inn, Ryudo wonders why the man is kneeling. The captain says that there is no need for unnecessary words and that he can guess the circumstances himself. He claims that they are travelers who have just appeared, hiding their identities after unfortunate events. Ryudo decides that will do. The man says that he won't tell anyone and that they can call him if they need help. He turns to Lilith, asking if she is a budding adventurer. He advises her to try not to get into trouble out of excitement. He tells Ryudo that he probably knows what he means. The next morning, Ryudo tells Lilith that this is the reason why they will continue to level her up today. He strangles the basilisk and screams for her to hit him with maximum force and her most powerful spell. Lilith hesitates, but Ryudo yells at her to hurry, because then the monster will die and she won't get the espa. Lilith closes her eyes and uses a spell called Thunder Clap. Ryudo screams that the monster is still alive and demands to hit it with the spell again. She uses the spell 3 more times. Ryudo says that after all the damage he received, the basilisk is finally defeated and invites her to return. Lilith hits him with a lightning bolt spell and asks him if he realizes she's mad at him. She mutters something about that hero girl and the ring he gave her. Lilith continues to attack him with spells and Ryudo asks her to stop. He yells, asking if she is enjoying this. Lilith wonders what this feeling is inside her. Ryudo is glad that her mana is finally running out. Ryudo reflects that the group continued to kill basilisks in a variety of ways until nightfall. And of course, Lilith had increased her level by an incredible amount. After all this, they arrive at their destination. Ryudo asks if this is where the mandrake is supposed to grow, saying that there is absolutely nothing here. The team captain says it's not soil because the ground is too dry and fragile. He admits that he doesn't think the mandrake could survive in such conditions. Ryudo disagrees. He exclaims that there is something alive here. He asks the man to return to the city with Lilith and tell the sorceress that her quest to find the mandrake will be completed in a few days. He tells him that he will also need him again. 2 weeks later, Ryudo brings a bag and says it's the mandrake she asked for. He asks her if she'll check it out. She says she heard about the soil and wonders what's in it. He says he found some viable seeds and used his farming skills to grow them, though it took him 2 weeks. He says he was lucky and was able to cultivate enough. The girl takes out the mandrakes and examines them. She suddenly declares that they cannot buy these mandrakes from him. She apologizes and explains that she meant that the academy's budget wouldn't be able to pay for all of this because it wasn't a mandrake. The girl wants to know if he really wants to give it all to her. She asks if this was his assignment. Ryudo asks what are the results really that bad. The girl asks if he really won't cancel their deal later and keep his promise. Ryudo asks to just tell him if she takes the goods or not. The girl says that she will personally make sure that his name will be recorded in the history of the academy. She explains that in fact he gave her one of the rarest varieties of mandrake, and there is so much of it that it will be enough for them to make a leap in medicine. She tells them that she was supposed to give them 100 gold coins, but will give them a large silver one now, 5 gold coins tomorrow, and 60 in a few days. Ryudo says that if it is rare, then give the money now or he will sell it to others. The girl reminded him that she had said that they were rare and wonderful, but only needed by good researchers. She asked if he knew any other researchers that good. She says he can solve his problems without her, asking if that's true. The man exclaims that he finally found it and that's where it was. The man says he's been looking for him for a long time. Ryudo ignores him, but he says it won't take much of his time. He gives him the reward for the extermination quest and tells him he left him a little extra. Ryudo counts and says that there are 15 gold coins there. The man says that these monsters on the lake were rated as A-rank creatures, and someone asked him if it was true that Ryudo-san killed them all. He admits that he said that he was the one who killed all those monsters to take the reward, and he is really ashamed that he stole his credit and glory. Ryudo grabs him by the shoulders and asks if he is interested in making money. He believes that if he is the center of attention, he will be able to remain unnoticed. Everything was resolved after the sorceress lady spoke with the servant seller, and Ryudo was able to buy Lilith back. In the casino city of Wismol, which is located on the border between the human and demonic worlds, there is a completely lawless territory where people can indulge in pleasures for as long as they have enough money. The announcer announces the fight. He shouts that the talk of the town, the most promising newcomer to their arena, has challenged the current champion. He announces that Ørsted Augustin, the hero of the Holy Lance sung by the West, has entered the arena. The presenter says that he was able to win with one blow in the first round, and in the second he smashed his opponent's weapon into dust, and he is so calm that even in the midst of a raging crowd, he did not show an ounce of emotion. He decides that if this is truly the best they have to offer, then fighting the champion won't be much of a problem for him, so he'll get it over with quickly and head back to the border. The host explains that she once became famous for surpassing the S rank of an adventurer, and introduces the audience to a silver-haired magical swordswoman named Ellen Macbeth. Ellen lies on the ground with her hands and feet tied behind her back. The leader announces that the battle is about to begin. Ørsted yells at the judge what is going on, asking if this is a joke. The man replies that it is not a joke and that this is the champion of their arena and his current opponent. Ellen explains that she was afraid to fight her opponent to equal him, so she decided to give him a head start. She says that if he doesn't want to attack her, then their fight won't start. She asks him if he's chickened out. Ørsted attacks her, but Ellen manages to dodge. The young man realizes that he missed because she moves very quickly. He continues to attack her, but she dodges every blow he throws. Ellen says she will show him how to hit quickly and accurately, and inflicts multiple wounds on him at once. Ørsted dropped his weapon. Ellen says she heard he was a real hero, so she was hoping for something. She claims it was such a shameless way to lose to her. Ørsted raises his hands and declares that he has lost. He admits that she has taken him. Ellen attacks him, asking what he was thinking by raising his hands in the middle of their fight. She suddenly appears behind him and claims that it almost looked like a plea to finish him off. The girl with the teddy bear asks Ellen if she can refrain from killing this hero since he can still become stronger. She says that if she wants carnage so much, she could be her partner in battle. Ellen calls out to Marine Onyx of the demon world, who practices forbidden magic, saying that even she came to this place. The crowd whispers about how she even knows about forbidden magic. Someone tells her not to talk about it because she will hear. Ellen replies that if this is the only option, she will do without it because she considers her a bad opponent for herself. She calls the judge, and he announces that the winner of the fight is their champion Esther. Ellen frees herself from the shackles, and the girl tells her that she recently met a funny guy who is just a peasant. Ellen replies that she really can't believe that the one who captured Marin's attention was just a peasant, but she's just not interested. Marin replies that he and she are destined to confront each other. Marin reports that this peasant is heading to the Tower of the Rising Sun, and the sacred land that holds the legendary Holy Sword meant for heroes is a test for him. She says that of course the Holy Sword is not what this peasant is after. She claims that he wants what lies beyond it. Ellen laughs and states that if he really wants to meet that person, it would be rude of her not to greet him. A girl meditates in a dark small space. She realizes that she's failed again and doesn't understand why she can't just concentrate. She wonders what time it is and how long she's been sitting in this cave. Cordelia reflects that there are two reasons why she continues to be in a place like this. The first being to figure out who she is and who she is supposed to be. She recalls being ignominiously defeated by an evil dragon, not to mention being saved by a peasant. She admits that she thought the difference between a hero and a peasant was huge, but reality showed her how wrong she was. The girl thinks that the reason for all this is that she lacks determination. Cordelia muses that she has heard rumors that Ørsted, the hero of the West, became an S-rank adventurer when he was only 15 years old, and even other heroes have linked their names to many exploits, while she is still only a B rank. She realizes that the 2 times she was in mortal danger, she was saved by Ryudo. She decides that he spoiled her, and her desire to get rid of this spoiling is her second reason for being in this cave. The old man says that Mana Berserker is when you become a berserker, revealing your maximum potential. He tells her that she will have a dangerous mission that will turn her into a Mana, a berserker, despised by society and bringing pain. He says that in exchange, while in a berserk state, she will be able to use power that lies far beyond her. He claims that this is why this test is called the Devil's Transformation. The man says that the true meaning of Mana Berserker is the desire to survive, because it is at that moment when a person's life is at stake that he can reach heights he could never have imagined. He explains that when she clings to life, her soul is left behind, and advises her to try to avoid this if she truly wants to go down the path of madness, because if she loses her soul, she will become a walking dead person. He claims that a corpse is of little use, and if there is any imbalance, she will surely lose her head from madness. He tells Cordelia not to think too much about it, and that even he does not know much. The man advises her to go into her mind and bring to life what she wants to see, until she does not deny any part of herself. Cordelia sees herself yelling at someone, saying she would do anything for money, admitting she has feelings for Ryudo and getting angry. She asks if these are all parts of her. She finds it disgusting, but she knows she must accept them. Cordelia prepares for battle and tells her parts of herself to come to her. She states that she will make all the parts of her understand what she wants. She begins to fight her parts. The girl asks if her method of acceptance is a fight. She admits that she must say that it is barbaric. She asks her parts about resolving everything peacefully and wonders if they agree. She attacks her parts and screams that she will never lose to all of them. Little Cordelia asks if she is satisfied with all this farce of hers. She says that she knows, that she understands what it is about the darkness deep inside her. She cuts off this part of herself's head and declares that she will never return to this pathetic self. Cordelia comes out of her consciousness and sees a girl sitting on her knees in front of her. He says that she managed to slip through and get rid of her desires, so he can only say that she completed the devil transformation tests. The man tells her to head to the Tower of the Rising Sun to show what she can do after being reborn here. Lilith stands on the edge of a cliff when a large flying monster attacks her. Ryudo cuts off the beast's head and says that it looks like they're having a wyvern on the coals for dinner. He praises her, saying that there are no more monsters she can't defeat. Lilith says that her level is no longer increasing. He looks at her stats and guesses that this is the ceiling of experience she can gain from monsters from the human continent. He announces that in that case, they will move on to objective number 3. He asks if he remembers their 3 objectives. Ryudo reminds him that they had to complete 3 objectives in the city, save her, level her up, and he keeps quiet about the 3rd objective. Lilith asks about the Tower of the Rising Sun. Ryudo replies that it is a dungeon that only opens during one season of the year. He reveals that this is the location where the bound sword is, and that it is not too far from them. Lilith wonders if their goal is the Holy Sword. She asks if they want to leave Cordelia weak. Ryudo replies that they don't and that they have a completely different goal. He says that they will continue to train in this tower because there is a secret place that seems to be just right for them. He says that this location is a little further than the pedestal with the sword. Ryudo suggests that she find out the details herself. He adds that they have nothing else to do in this city anyway, since they have already earned so much money that they can hardly spend that much money, and the old man was already satisfied that they will be included in the A rank of adventurers. Ryudo and Lilith are walking around the city when they notice they are being followed, causing Ryudo to become angry. He runs away, telling Lilith to return to the hotel immediately and shouting that he will be back soon. Lilith is upset that she is alone. She heads to their hotel, thinking that this place has awakened her interest in this city, and if it is short-lived, then everything will be fine. She decides that she is not going to lose to anyone now. She is walking through the market. Lilith passes by the thieves' shop, a large marketplace where stolen and counterfeit items are sold. She thinks that, as expected from a city of mercenaries, there is no other place where one would see so many grimoires. She realizes that many of the grimoires are fake, and believes that none of them can deceive her with her high level. Lilith examines several grimoires, and then she becomes disillusioned when she realizes that they are all fake. She wonders why it is so hard to find a real grimoire. She realizes that just being able to touch a book makes her happy, because even though they are fake, they are still books, and they smell so good and feel so good. 2 suspicious men approach Lilith and ask her if she is lost, offering their help. They ask if she knows that this place is very dangerous for her. Lilith attacks the man and his friend starts yelling at her. Lilith decides that she has spent too much time in this place and that she will not show her skills. Suddenly, she begins to feel pain in the area of her heart. The girl realizes that they used all the weakening options on her, such as Dispel Spell, Spell Cancellation, and Anti-Magic. She wonders when they managed to do this. Lilith looks around and realizes that she is surrounded. She estimates that she is surrounded by at least 4 C-rank wizards and at least 10 common bandits. She thinks that she did not expect there to be so many. She fights with the bandits and decides that she doesn't need magic at all against them. She can deal with them in hand-to-hand combat. The gladiator strikes Lilith. He and his partner say that she has leveled up since their last encounter, but she still can't defeat them. The nobleman laughs evilly and shouts that she couldn't defeat him in 100 years. He holds her head and asks if she remembers him. The wizard uses bind on her, and the nobleman says he will see what she will do now. The nobleman says that she is a sweetheart, and he can forgive her all her sins if she stays with him. He clarifies with her that this is not a bad idea. Lilith realizes that she has become too self-confident after becoming stronger. But in reality, she still can't do anything. Suddenly, Ryudo appears and the mage releases the bind spell that was preventing Lilith from moving. Lilith attacks the nobleman and states that she has decided to deal with him first. She screams that she will use him as fertilizer. The nobleman orders his men to kill her. The gladiator informs Gozen-sama that he cannot move. The nobleman asks where these vines came from and didn't they send people to deal with this peasant. Someone suggests that they failed in their mission. The nobleman yells at the wizard to use spell break, but he has already escaped. Ryudo approaches the nobleman and tells him that he will not kill him, but will cripple him a little. Ryudo apologizes to Lilith. He says that she got into trouble because of his bad decision. Lilith replies that it is not his fault, and it is all her fault. Lilith claims that she has become stronger, and Ryudo agrees with her, stating that she was able to break a B-rank spell. He says that he does not want to put a burden on her, and as they head to the Tower of the Rising Sun, this time everything will depend on her determination. He declares that if she cannot become stronger than she is now, he will leave her alone in the Dragon Village. Lilith asks him not to say that, frantically assuring him that she will become stronger. She takes his hand in hers. The vendors say that they need to prepare souvenirs for the tourists. They discuss that the hero from the north, Mrs. Cordelia, has decided to stop in their city to challenge the Tower of the Rising Sun. The whole city is celebrating, and even the horses are decorated with flowers. Lilith enjoys street food. There is a notice in the city that today will be the duel of the hero against the Holy Sword. Lilith sits in the arena stands, eager to see the hero's potential. The men around her discuss how the great priest has gotten into trouble, which is why he is missing. They say he was found unconscious in the city of thieves and even tried to kill him. The previous night, Ryudo looks at the tower through a spyglass and tells Lilith that the Tower of the Rising Sun used to be a shop for rare equipment for heroes. He says that instead of raising their authority, the kings of different nations turned the tower into a labyrinth with traps and tests. Ryudo explains that the tower is a dungeon that functions as an attraction, and the trials are a screen, so it is a good place for tourists. He says that the objects of the heroes are not accessible to outsiders, so it is suitable due to the collective responsibility of the countries and the lack of influence of the church. The young man says that this is why people like them can enter this tower and stay there if they have tickets, so instead of going to the hero test, they will go to their goal through this place. Lilith reminds him that he mentioned this before. She wonders if they can really get stronger in a dungeon that is made for tourists. She asks him what they are doing on this roof, assuming that they are planning. Ryudo hands her a trumpet and tells her about a room with a balcony and a light burning in the middle of the largest building in the area. He asks her to use her far sight skill and take a look. Lilith looks at the room and says that she sees a lot of plush toys on the bed. Ryudo says that this is the wrong room and tells him to look in the next room. Lilith looks at him and asks him what it is. Ryudo says that it is exercise equipment. Lilith doesn't understand what this means and asks what the machines are. Ryudo thinks about it and realizes that it's quite difficult to explain bodybuilding to people from this world. He explains that physical strength is determined by status, and that jobs and levels are determined by status, not to mention skills or titles. Ryudo believes that by increasing levels and improving in a job, physical strength will increase. Ryudo understands that although muscle pumping can increase stats, strength training is one of the oldest methods of training, and muscle pumping is considered an ineffective and unimportant activity. Lilith asks why this hero is doing such useless training. Ryudo asks her to look at the leftmost room, where not a single candle is lit. Lilith looks at the room and reports that she is talking to herself while standing naked in front of a mirror. Ryudo explains that she is undergoing devil transformation training. Ryudo tells Lilith that Cordelia is halfway through taking her own life at this point, and explains that she is trying to maintain her sanity while her ability from her berserker status works. Cordelia meets the evil dragon Amantha in her test. Amantha is surprised to clarify that she embodied her in such a form this time. She assumes it's because it makes it easier for her to hate her. Amantha asks if she's right. Cordelia screams that all her comrades are dead and it's all her fault. Suddenly, the leader of the squad appears in front of her, saying that he agrees with her and that it is all his fault. He claims that he was unable to protect the hero or even his soldiers. The man says to forgive them because they fought alongside the hero and because they trusted her with their lives. Cordelia is surrounded by dead, headless knights. They tell her to forgive them, that they have no heads to bow in repentance. Cordelia believes that it is her fault that her comrades died and that she should die too. She says that she will die as a nobody. Lilith watches Cordelia with regret. Ryudo reveals that in exchange for the dramatic gains and despite the constant headaches, she still trains using such ineffective methods to increase her parameters. The boy tells Lilith that even heroes have to work hard to become stronger, so she shouldn't think that it's easier for them than it is for her. Ryudo reflects that, like Cordelia, Lilith has gone through a lot to level up in hopes that seeing how hard Cordelia tries will make Lilith stronger and more persistent herself. He realizes that even after completing the training to become a berserker, she was unable to obtain the actual skill. He believes that she is stuck in the taking her own life while being nothing stage, and although she has obtained Mad Rage, she cannot use it to its full potential. He decides that it was because he came to her aid in all the dangerous situations that prevented her from becoming as strong as she could have been. So ultimately, it was because of him that she was forced to put in all this unnecessary effort. Lilith suddenly asks Ryudo what Cordelia means to him. He is surprised by the question, but then smiles weakly and answers it. The host thanks everyone for their patience. He announces the hero who has come from the north, Cordelia Allstone and Arsene Bran, the holy sword of the esteemed empire. The arena owner prepares to give the signal, and the host informs the spectators that the fight will begin immediately after the man gives them the signal. Cordelia Allstone and Arsene Bragna prepare to fight each other. The man gives a hand signal indicating the start of the fight. They attack each other with such force that the spectators in the stands watch this battle in horror. Arsene attacks Cordelia with his magical weapon, but she manages to dodge all of his attacks. Arsene raises his sword for another attack when Cordelia deflects his attacks with her sword. Lilith watches, mouth agape. Cordelia's opponent attacks her with his eyes closed, and she begins to back away, only to make a surprise lunge and attack. She cuts off some of his hair with her sword. Arsene says it was brilliant, and he is surprised that anyone other than a Western hero could stand up to him. Cordelia admits to him that she was surprised that her head didn't fly off her shoulders 3 seconds after their fight began. She says that she doesn't even know how she can defeat him. Arsene replies that as long as that's the case, he has nothing to worry about. He advises her to take it as a new experience and to practice, and maybe someday she will be able to. Suddenly, a terrifying dark aura appears around Cordelia, and she declares that she will defeat him now. She claims that her target is someone stronger than him, so she does not want to be defeated by him in this fight. Arsene notices that her pupils have turned red. He assumes that she has fallen into a state of madness. The Holy Sword responds that he will use his power to defeat her and that it will be part of his duty to her as her mentor. Cordelia attacks furiously, but Arsene is completely calm. The girl in the stands is so stunned by the spectacle in the arena that she does not notice how her ice cream falls. Cordelia makes her attack and the ice cream ball falls right to the floor. Arsene kneels before the hero, and to the surprise of the entire crowd of spectators, he says that he admits his defeat. While Cordelia helps Arsene to stand up and they shake hands, the host announces that the winner is the hero from the north. He asks the audience to support both heroes with applause because they showed such a spectacular duel. Lilith makes her way through the crowd, leaving the arena stands. She realizes that she didn't even get to see their final blows. Lilith reflects on how she always thought Ryudo was the only genius around her, and as for this hero, she was always confident that she could achieve it on her own. She realizes that she was too vain. Lilith believes that they are in different worlds and no matter how, she will always be behind her. Lilith cries, realizing that she will never be strong enough to defeat this hero in anything. At the inn, Ryudo knocks on Lilith's door, asking if she is awake yet. Lilith, without opening the door, says that she is awake. Ryudo says that he wanted to tell her something about the Tower of the Rising Sun. Lilith sits under the blanket and sadly tells Ryudo that she thinks she should return to the Dragon Village. Ryudo responds that he understands her but suggests that they continue this conversation tomorrow. He says that she is tired, so he will leave her food in front of the door. He wishes her good night and she responds in kind. Ryudo leaves but returns to remind her to brush her teeth before bed, and Lilith calmly agrees. Ryudo goes down the stairs and decides that he needs to get another room. He wonders if the inn has another room available. Ryudo thinks that Lilith has become dependent on him and he has used her dependence, and that is their relationship. Ryudo remembers that he told Lilith that Cordelia was very dear to him. He thinks that he should have phrased it better, wondering why he said it that way. He continues to sit on the roof of the building alone at night. The captain of the A-rank group says that he wants to buy tickets to explore the tower. He asks for 1 adult and 2 children's tickets, indicating this with his fingers. The man asks if the family package is cheaper and says they'll take it then. Ryudo and a dejected Lilith stand next to him, waiting for their tickets. They enter the tower with their tickets. Ryudo recalls that after their conversation, he decided to take Lilith to the Tower of Dawn no matter what the cost. The man says that because no one knows them, they had to buy tickets to enter the tower. The man shows a map and says that even the locations of the traps are marked. He says that this map was given to him by his grandfather, who was a hero, so the information must be accurate. Ryudo thinks that this old man really managed to persuade Lilith to come here and turns to him. Ryudo thanks the man. They go up the stairs and he tells them that the entrance to the dungeon is behind this door. He says that the first test will be the invisible trap, and it is a large room full of traps. The man opens the door and says that as soon as they enter, a rain of arrows will instantly set the ground on fire under their feet. And to protect themselves from them, they just need to use protective magic and create a barrier. The arrows fly straight at them, but Lilith quickly stops them with her magic. Ryudo takes one of the arrows to examine it and says that they were enchanted with a strong erasure. He praises Lilith, assuring her that using slow magic was a good idea. The man says that the card didn't say anything about that. Ryudo senses the impending danger and throws the arrow he was examining earlier into the floor. The arrow opens a hidden trap in the floor, which is a pit with spikes, into which a man has already fallen. Ryudo reports that the man who walked ahead of them is dead. He assumes that it is a false floor. The man exclaims that this cannot be, since all the traps with floors were supposed to be at the bottom of the tower. Lilith notices that Ryudo is very angry about something and wonders why. She watches him with concern. Ryudo breaks the arrows in his hand, realizing that this is preparation for Cordelia's test. He activates the skill Simple Surface View and surveys the area. He asks the man to give him the map and reads it carefully, comparing it with the territory of the Tower of Dawn. Ryudo hands back the map and tells him that most of the traps here are already marked, the only difference being that one is on the ceiling. He pours the seeds from the bag into his palm and places them on the floor, declaring that if this is the case, it will be easy. The young man activates his agricultural cultivation skill, and these seeds instantly sprout into plants. The man watches Ryudo in shock. The boy tells them that all the traps are practically useless except to slow them down for a while. He tells everyone to move on. They go up a long staircase and enter a hall. The man says that the next test is called that which blocks the path, and in this test, there will be a golem in their way that is almost impossible to destroy. The golem attacks them, but they all manage to dodge. Ryudo suggests that they just blow the guy to pieces and go to the next floor and attacks him. The man grabs Lilith's hand and runs away from him. Ryudo tries to pierce his armor with his sword, but it doesn't work. She realizes that his armor is at least S rank. Ryudo shouts that he will take the golem on himself and tells them to go forward. The man points and says that there should be a staircase somewhere. They find the front door. The man screams in horror, not believing that the front door is locked. Eslin stands behind the closed door, thinking about how she tinkered with the mechanism to make that door impossible to open until the golem is defeated. She wonders what the peasant will do now with all the traps and the enemy. Eslin hears a very loud sound and does not understand what is happening. Suddenly, the ground beneath her begins to shake violently. Holes appear in the walls of the Tower of Dawn from the attacks. Eslin looks at the open door as someone walks through it and throws a large boulder at her. Out of breath, Ryudo points at her and clarifies that she was the one who increased the difficulty in this dungeon. Eslin asks him how he was able to complete all of these tasks so quickly. Ryudo replies that he took a shortcut, got rid of all of the traps, and thus ended up here. She asks if she is going to destroy this tower. Ryudo asks her if she thinks any human is strong enough to do something like that. He says that for a start, the tower doesn't even exist. He asks her why the tower is called the Dawn Tower. He explains that most of the time it is in another dimension, and theirs is only there at certain times, and it is a good option for storing equipment, although it has another purpose. Ryudo reveals that this tower, even though it has long been used to test heroes, houses the Devil's Sword, created as a pair for the nearby Holy Sword. He admits that he cannot say for sure that the Holy Sword is located here to seal the Devil's Sword. But this tower is the result of the accumulation of enormous magical power and is the shadow of the Devil's Sword, as this is its essence. Eslin says that since he knows so much, she can't fool him with such simple words. She mentions that that man is also standing behind that door. Ryudo realizes that he can't move at all and assumes that this is the work of that girl with the knife. She walks through the door and tells him that if he can, he should try to get through that door before it closes. She admits that she doesn't think he'll be able to move at all for at least half a day. Ryudo removes the spell from herself, thinking that she even used a spell to prevent them from moving. He sees that the man and Lilith are still trapped in the magic, so they can't even move. He, feeling sorry, closes his eyes so as not to see them and walks through the door. He walks down the hall and finds himself in a large hall where Eslin is waiting for him. He notices a sword behind her and wonders if it is the devil's sword. Eslin asks if that means they have two contenders. Ryudo turns around and sees Lilith walking into the hall. Ryudo is happy to see her. Eslin, the moment Ryudo turns away from her, jumps. She attacks Ryudo with a dagger and he defends himself with his sword. The boy is surprised that she appeared in front of him so quickly. He wonders if this is a unique skill. Eslin says he already knows this, but she will explain the rest to him. She tells him that whoever touches this sword will be rewarded with a wish in exchange for half of his life. She states that she will use him as a sacrifice. Ryudo attacks her, but she suddenly appears behind him. She injures him, saying that she likes his style. She asks him to let her predict his future and says that his wish will never come true. Ryudo, feeling the pain from the cut on his back, tries to attack her again. He realizes that she has appeared in a completely different place again, wondering if this is her usual skill. She disappears again, screaming that her name is Eslin, and she is the woman who will kill them. Lilith calls out to him worriedly, and Ryudo replies that there is no problem, everything is as he expected. He tells her that they continue to prepare for their plan. Ryudo hears Eslin and attacks her. She attacks her with endless attacks which she fights off. Ryudo says that this is her method. He claims that she talks a lot about killing, but at the same time she didn't even try to kill them. He assumes that she set it up on purpose. Ryudo stands on one hand and asks to let him show her their full determination. Eslin doesn't understand what he's doing. He attacks her with his legs while standing on his hands. He thinks about the origin of Eslin's skill, super acceleration, teleportation, or time stop, but the last two require a lot of mana, and the first and third create a shockwave. Ryudo acknowledges that adventurers who use time stop prefer to fight in close combat as it gives them an advantage. However, if the enemy moves abnormally, they will lose range. He decides, taking all these factors into account, that she will use the skill super acceleration in battle. Ryudo believes that the main weakness of super acceleration is that she needs distance to use it to her advantage, so there is only one effective tactic against it. He notices that she swings her weapon before using her acceleration, so he figures that as long as he can keep up with that, he can counter her. Eslin asks if that's what he's trying to pretend to be. She assumes that he is trying to determine the time and place of her appearance and is foolishly believing in his trap. She attacks him and screams at him to die. Suddenly, Ryudo knocks her to the floor. Eslin quickly gets up. Ryudo realizes that they have succeeded. Eslin says that she was deceived by such a cheap trick. She realizes that he prepared surveillance magic through the girl to perform this trick and wonders when he managed to do it. Eslin's hand gets caught in a weed, and looking around, she realizes that there are a lot of them. Ryudo recalls that he planted weeds around her, added simple surface view, and thus predicted her every move. He thinks that in order to determine this, it was enough for him to understand that she was teleporting. Eslin asks if this whole show was just so she wouldn't notice all the weeds around her. She says that's bad. She cuts him several times, and Ryudo doesn't understand how because he thought he was able to dodge them. She claims that she can see that he is still a child. Eslin tells him to prepare for a quick and painless death. Eslin pulls out all her weapons and apologizes to him, declaring that she will not hold back any longer. Eslin attacks Ryudo with her daggers. Lilith stands there unsure of what to do. Ryudo stands ready for her attack but still fails to dodge. He thinks that he is familiar with Flash Step, so he knows that it cannot be used repeatedly, but this woman refutes this statement so easily as if it is worthless. He guesses that this is the power of that sword. Eslin is surprised that he is so stubborn. She decides that the fact that the fight has dragged on for so long also shows that she is still inexperienced. She remembers that she has never felt the backlash of teleportation so strongly. She decides that she should have killed the girl first, but when she tried, he always managed to block the attack. She realizes that she really can't deal with her. Eslin notices that Lilith is preparing to attack her with magic and assumes that the girl is looking for a chance to hit her with magic. She wonders how long she is going to chant this wind magic spell. Eslin decides she needs to think calmly and notices her own sense of unease. She suggests that she might be their real target. She notices something against the wall and throws her daggers at it. They stick and she realizes it is a sensor. She asks him if there was paralyzing gas in it. She remembers the beginning of the fight and realizes he had this in mind back then. Ryudo understands that the idea with the paralyzing gas failed, but the effect of the mandrake is nuclear and strong, so he hopes that over time it will definitely work. Eslin attacks him from behind. Ryudo thinks that if he were her, he would try to finish the fight with one blow, and if that's the case, he would win. The boy explains that he deliberately kept getting caught in her fast attacks, also that she would think that this was his maximum reaction speed. He, noticing her, turns around, attacking her and realizing that he can predict where her next attack will be, even if she teleports. The girl disappears and he looks around trying to find her. Eslin thinks he is a naive boy, because if she has a chance to finish everything with one blow using teleportation, she will not do it with all her strength. She uses Infinite Blade Barrage, and Ryudo finds himself in the middle of an onslaught of dozens of daggers. Spirits start to come out of Ryudo. Eslin is surprised that there are so many ghosts inside this guy. The spirits that came out of Ryudo start attacking him. A spirit knocks him to the ground and chokes him. Eslin realizes that he himself will die because he will be torn apart by these spirits. Ryudo yells for someone to wait, saying that it is too early. Lilith stands near the devil's sword and Ryudo yells at her not to touch it. Lilith replies that she cannot obey him because if his life is at stake, then she must. Lilith touches the sword and declares that she will be the one to carry out their original plan right now. Lilith asks if they must give up half of their lives for the opportunity to fulfill their wish. Ryudo replies that it is a secret that is hidden inside the Tower of Dawn, and although there is another secret behind it besides the cursed sword. Ryudo reveals that he has another ace up his sleeve in case something like this happens, and he won't have time to think about what to do with it. He admits that even if he got the sword, he still doesn't know what to do with the secret that lies behind it. Lilith reflects that even though Ryudo said all this, she also has a desire for whom she wouldn't mind giving up half of her life for. She believes that this desire is to be useful to him. She decides that she wants to give herself entirely to him, to the one who never backs down in the face of unforeseen circumstances. A third eye opens on her forehead. He explains that as long as it is for him, she will easily sacrifice half her life. Eslin realizes that this is a dragon's oath. She wonders if it can turn her into a dragon. Ryudo stands up after defeating the evil spirits and tells her that she used the contract in such a reckless way. Lilith says that she is sorry. Ryudo says that it already happened, so he doesn't want to get personal and suggests that they just do it. Lilith casts a spell, summoning the golden dragon. She uses the dragon skill Golden Roar. Eslin realizes that this is a wide area attack, and even with instant teleportation, she has no chance of avoiding it. She decides that she can endure it, and is confident that Lilith can only use such a powerful spell once. Ryudo asks Lilith if she too thought she had already won. Lilith replies that it is not over yet. Ryudo tells Eslin that she can guess how much mana they have left after this fight, but Lilith is wearing an artifact called the Ring of Nocturne. He asks if she understands what it means. Ryudo and Lilith attack Eslin together using a spell called Golden Roar. Eslin lies defeated by them. Lilith asks Ryudo if she was useful. He replies that he would have died if she had not been there. She calls out to Ryudo and asks him to stroke her head, and Ryudo agrees. Ryudo pats Lilith on the head, and she tells him that she has one very important question she wants to ask him. She asks Ryudo who she really is to him. Ryudo thinks for a second and decides to answer her. He grabs her face and says that she is his. He reflects that he saw in her a reflection of his weak self, so he subconsciously used her without any care. He believes that he has realized that there is more to it, since she is the one who showed courage. He believes that she is the embodiment of hope that he can defeat fate, and decides that he wants to show her that he can be the Ryudo that she will admire. Ryudo hugs Lilith, thanking her. He admits that he did not lose because she was on his side and offers to become stronger together. Lilith hugs him back, crying with joy, and agrees. Suddenly a boy appears in a large hat and mask, shouting loudly that he congratulates them. He exclaims that it's a great show. He parodies Ryudo by repeating his words that he said to Lilith and laughs loudly. He says that it's to be expected from two charlatans like them. Lilith wonders what is wrong with this human, realizing that he suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Ryudo covers Lilith with his body and asks him if he is the secret that was hidden behind the cursed sword. The young man adds that he is just in time and demands the return of that half of Lilith's life that took the sword. He replies that he will return half of that girl's life in exchange for half of his life. Ryudo asks him to stop talking nonsense and return her. He asks what difference does it make to him if human life is worth nothing to him. The boy replies that he is so rude. He says that fortunately he knows how to deal with such people properly and attacks with a magical attack, blowing off Ryudo's head. Lilith watches in horror as Ryudo's body falls. She stands and looks at the decapitated Ryudo. Lilith calls him, she kneels and asks him to wake up. She screams at him to get up. The guy exclaims that he accidentally killed the winner. He says that such bad behavior is not his style and apologizes. He suggests that they not dwell on their past mistakes. He points at Eslin, calling her blonde. The boy asks her how she lets herself be defeated so easily and says he knows she can still fight. He demands that she stand up, warning her that if she doesn't, he will crush her into dust. Suddenly, Ryudo attacks the boy from behind, but he manages to dodge. Ryudo shouts at him to restore Lilith's lifespan as promised. The boy is surprised, asking how he survived. Ryudo thinks that even he himself thought for a moment that he was already dead and wonders who this guy is. The guy says that he now remembers and clarifies whether he is a reincarnated person, adding that this is definitely not the first time Ryudo has died. He admits that his death's embrace isn't very effective against people who have already died before. The guy appears behind Ryudo and says that it doesn't matter. He whispers in Ryudo's ear that he still wants to discuss something with him and calls him Iijima. The guy claims that Ryudo gave a very interesting answer to the goddess question about what he craves in this life. And instead of asking for a trivial "save your life," he asked to reboot so that all memories would be preserved. He says that in this way, even though he remained an ordinary peasant, he gave everything for this woman so that ultimately she would have to rely on him. Ryudo asks him what he is. The boy replies that he is intrigued by the name, which is widely used by people in many interpretations in his previous world. He bows slightly and asks to be called Lucifer, the one who opposes God. The guy admits that the personification of Lucifer is similar to him, and one can even say that his real form is sealed in hell. He says that since he had nothing to do, he projected the sword and enjoyed his leisure time inside. Ryudo claims that this was a lie, that he would require appropriate compensation depending on his wish. The young man says that he read in books that something like half a lifetime is required, although they were written more than 500 years ago. He says that he has already satisfied his desire before without any requirement at all. Lucifer exclaims that it is true that this entire part from beginning to end was added by him. He says that having human life, which is already short, is a funny solution. He admits that he loves watching her speed, adding that by truly risking their lives, people are sometimes even able to surpass their limitations. He says that's why he wants Ryudo to live his life to the fullest and die a great death. Ryudo replies that as long as he agrees to restore Lilith's lifespan, he will be willing to exclusively show him truly interesting lifelong journeys. He asks him if that's why he missed her. Lucifer laughs, asking to be pampered and explaining how he plans to entertain him by returning someone's lifespan. Ryudo says that if he grants his wish for free, he promises him twice the entertainment. Lucifer replies that this is not how things are done but agrees, asking what the conversation is about. Ryudo states that he just needs to be patient and wait a little while. Lucifer blows on Ryudo, sending him flying into a wall with such force that he breaks a huge crack in it. He asks Ryudo if he thinks that liking a peasant can show him the heights of entertainment. Ryudo attacks Lucifer and activates the skill Peasant's Fury. He goes to punch him in the face, but Lucifer stops him with a spell a few centimeters away from his face. However, Ryudo removes the spell and attacks Lucifer so hard that he flies back. The youth hits him with such force that he cripples his own arm. He admits that it was painful and asks the worried Lilith not to come near him. Ryudo reports that it's not over yet. Lucifer is stuck in the wall with only his feet visible. Lucifer explains that the last time he was hit in the face that hard was when he had a personal disagreement with the goddess. He climbs out of the hole, exclaiming that it was a great show. He points to the moon and says that he enjoyed the sight of this full moon so much that he will restore her to full life for free. He snaps his fingers and Lilith begins to glow with magic. Lucifer asks Ryudo if his wish has already been granted. He says that although transferring a portion of Lilith's magic is different from his wish, he wonders if he already has a skill that is as good as the one he wished for. Lucifer reveals that the Dragon King and the other monarchs had a pact to share some of their power with their princesses. He says that their souls have been linked together for longer than they think. Lucifer offers to give him the ability to transform into whatever he imagined in exchange. Ryudo muses that there was once a very large wolf that managed to eat an ancient god, and after that, the wolf that ate the god gained his power and became a legend. Ryudo wonders if Lucifer can give him a way to devour gods along with all their skills. Lucifer tells him to take it and uses a skill transfer beam. He exclaims that Ryudo might want to eat him now. Ryudo, disappointed, thinks that this is it. He thought that skills like this require some kind of very complicated rituals or something. Lucifer tells him not to forget about his double fun that he promised him. Ryudo tells him not to even think about watching him, threatening to eat him if he doesn't. Lucifer is thinking about how he suddenly remembered the old fertility god who was eaten by one of his children just as he was about to eat them himself. He wonders what will happen to this guy. The next day, the hero of the North, Cordelia, accepted the challenge. She, stunned, enters the ruined dungeon and walks to the sword without any obstacles. The man claps and congratulates her. Ryudo assigned the man to be a witness for the hero to take the sword. Cordelia gets angry and curses. The hero of the North, Cordelia, completed the Tower of Dawn trial without any problems. 1 year later, at the Altina Magic Academy, a boy asks Cordelia if something is bothering her. She replies that there is a crowd around the third training ground and is wondering what is going on there. They stop by the balcony to watch, and the guy assumes they're watching another entrance exam. He says it's just a bunch of people who decided to get in because they have money. Cordelia tells Moses that he is being too rude to them. Cordelia watches the academy's applicants, thinking that she is a hero and Moses is a sage. So from time to time, they both attend a special class at the academy, and as a sign of their special treatment to the Order of Knights, they receive a scholarship. She smiles as she watches the children rejoice at being accepted to the academy. Moses adjusts his glasses and calls them a bunch of weaklings. He wonders if they are embarrassed by the fact that they live with such skills. He says that talentless people are sinful, and the only thing most of them can aspire to is to become bait when the time comes. Cordelia is not listening to Moses, thinking about something of her own, when she notices Ryudo in the crowd. She jumps off the balcony, exclaiming that he is here. Moses asks Cordelia what she is doing. Cordelia runs away, screaming that Ryudo McLean is among the applicants. Upon hearing about Ryudo, Moses crumbles the balcony railing in anger, and Cordelia realizes that his disdain has not changed since then. A few weeks before the entrance exam at the Magic Institute, Ryudo asks Lilith if she has finished her preparations. Lilith replies that she is ready. The young man suggests that they set out. The man tells Ryudo that it is so impolite of him to try to leave without speaking to them one last time. Ryudo is surprised to see his uncle and the Dragon King. The man with the beard tells Ryudo to be more respectful. Ryudo replies that he gave him permission, asking if he forgot. The man replies that he is being impudent and tells him not to forget to come back to them. Ryudo asks the Dragon King if he deliberately didn't warn him about the servant mark. He replies that he didn't care about the mark, as it wouldn't have caused any trouble if they hadn't left them. He explains that the bracelets they give to people who come here contain dragon power that will neutralize any illnesses or curses in the village. He adds that it wouldn't get rid of the seal itself, but it would prevent it from activating. Ryudo asks him why he didn't tell him. The king replies that he didn't ask, and knowledge is power, so it's his own fault for not knowing. He claims that he did it out of the best of intentions, and asks if it was because of their ignorance that they were able to figure it out on their own. The king explains that they are dragon people, so human problems should not concern them, but promises that they will guarantee him a worthy welcome as the next Dragon King and extends his hand. Ryudo doesn't shake her hand, but says that there's still something he needs to do. He explains that he became strong in order to help the hero, so his place now is by her side. The king nods, expressing his understanding. He looks at Lilith, addressing her. He says that she is weak, so the decision to banish her 4 years ago, in his opinion, was still not a mistake. He asks if she remembers her old man's last words. He reminds her that he said it was heard for a dragon to die like a man, and despite his condition, he committed a terrible sin by insulting the entire dragon race. The king kneels down and adds that, however, Ryudo has proven himself to be an excellent warrior by continuing to protect her no matter what. He says that she proved it by finally finding the opportunity to become stronger. So it is an honor for him to call her part of the Earth Dragon family. The men say that the dragons will bless them for a glorious journey, after which they are expected to return. The king looks at his watch, saying that they should have arrived by now. His companion asks if he told them about the Shenlong Gate. The king replies that he did. The Shenlong Gate is a magical gate that has protected the dragon village since ancient times. But over the centuries, the magical barrier has been destroyed, leaving only the gate itself. The king says he has added passing the ancient gate as a bonus to the challenge. He says that no one has ever managed to do it so far. He is sure that they will either not try or try and return in disgrace. The king blows up the gate and says they will just break it down. The man hopes he hasn't broken it down, realizing it's only a piece of the gate. The king says that the future changed as soon as he wished to surpass the hero. He claims that from now on he will become stronger and stronger, and the end of the world will be closer. The king admits that he is curious to see how strong the peasant can become. He says that he is even afraid to imagine it. At the academy, the administrator asks Ryudo his name and profession, and the boy states them. The man asks what types of magic he can use. Ryudo replies that he can only use household magic. The man declares that Ryudo has failed. The boy exclaims that he hasn't even started the test yet. The administrator replies that he doesn't have a single chance of passing it. He points to a target with magical protection and asks if everyday magic will help him hit it. The man says he doesn't think he'll have 5 silver coins for the entrance fee and sends him home. Ryudo muses that while he can use other magic, he's not sure it can pass as magic spells. Suddenly, someone calls Lilith. The rich guy says that he will allow her to participate in the exam if she agrees to become his woman. He assures her that with his strength, she will easily pass the exam. The guy shouts at Ryudo that it does not concern him. The boy tells her not to think that such a chance can come twice. He announces that the person in front of her is none other than the nephew of the ruler of the kingdom of Phacilia himself. Ryudo thinks that he looks familiar, remembering the nobleman. He claims that he has everything that any girl could want. He lists that he has looks, money, bloodline, and strength. He hits the target with his magic and thus passes the first test. He says that this is what gives him such pride. Ryudo asks the administrator if this counts as passing. The man replies that it does. Ryudo easily cuts the target in two and asks if he passed. The boy shouts, asking since when can peasants use storm blade. He grabs Ryudo by the collar, and the boy asks if that's what he's talking about, what he did. Ryudo explains that he simply split the magic in the air with a wave of his hand. The boy angrily asks if he thinks he'll believe such nonsense. He falls to the floor, foaming at the mouth. His servants shout that he is having spasms again and demand that the storage box be brought quickly. The administrator says that he has passed this test, but he will have to pass the rest as well. The man says that they will now check how well he did in the hit the target test. A special person examines the target that Ryudo cut in half. The second test involves measuring mana with an absorbent sphere. Lilith asks if it isn't enough to just check their stats. Ryudo replies that scientists always want to know for sure, and they probably think they might not have a card. The rich guy says that it would be more correct to say that they determine magical potential without relying on numbers alone. He tells Lilith to look at him, assuring her that even the best of the students cannot create such a bright fire. He claims that there was a misunderstanding last time. Lilith places her hand on the absorbent sphere and creates a fire so bright that she has to close her eyes. The boy rolls on the floor, screaming something about his eyes. The knights ask for the storage box and scream for it to be covered. The academy staff tells Lilith that her potential would allow her to compete with the hero, but Lilith gets angry at their words. Ryudo decides that at this point, it is obvious that no one can surpass Lilith. He wonders if she was glowing like that from Lilith's power, then she could explode from his power. He wants to try to dampen it with senjutsu. He places his hand on the absorbent sphere and all the spheres around him explode. The crowd begins to panic, trying to stop the fire and figure out how this happened. Lilith is pleased and says that it was a good job. She claims that she doesn't know what happened in the last exam, but there is nothing that Ryudo can't do perfectly. Ryudo replies that he hopes they feel the same way. Ryudo remembers that Cordelia also once had problems retaining her power, and decides that he still lacks the skills. The guy shouts that he found him, pointing at Ryudo. He claims that he exposed him and he was going to ruin the entire exam. The boy shouts that he will tell everyone about his cheating and asks the examiner to throw him out. The man announces to Ryudo that he has passed. The guy screams in shock. He rudely asks the examiner if he heard what he just said. The man replies that the criterion of the exam was that he had to light a fire in the sphere, and since the guy lit it in his own and others, he passed the test. The examiner informs him that he has one last text left to pass, sparring. He asks the boy if she would like to be his opponent. The boy exclaims how dare he ask him to compete with him, but stops cursing when Lilith pretends to be so interested in who will win. She lies that she hopes to see a fight, although it is obvious who will win. The boy cheerfully says that after all, punishing evildoers is one of the duties of elites like him. He tells Ryudo to be grateful that he will accept punishment from him. Lilith claims that this is incredible. Defeated by Ryudo, lies unconscious on the ground after their sparring. The knights shout that they need a recovery sphere. Ryudo thinks that fortunately he has enough equipment and he held back. Cordelia shouts that she found him. She calmly asks Ryudo where he's been all this time. Ryudo tells Cordelia that she has become so beautiful. He smiles at her, but she screams that he won't fool her like that and intends to hit him. Cordelia raises her hand to slap her, but Lilith intercepts her hand, asking what she wanted to do. Cordelia asks Lilith not to interfere, saying that she has business with Ryudo. She is surprised that the girl was able to stop her slap. Lilith tells her to get lost since they have no business with her. Cordelia replies that it is none of her business. The students at the academy are discussing that Ms. Cordelia is going to have a duel. They say that her opponent will be the applicant who showed a stunning result in the test of magic power today. The girl listens to the students' conversation. They say that the duel is on the 5th training field, hurrying each other so as not to miss it. Lilith and Cordelia take up their weapons. Lilith attacks Cordelia with magic, but she deflects the blow with her sword. The men are screaming, asking if they've forgotten that this is just sparring. They're saying they're just going to destroy this place. The examiner asks if it is wonderful to watch their students grow and never stop, and suggests they watch for a while longer. The administrator thinks that his behavior has become strange lately, suggesting that he has gone crazy. The man ponders that if Lilith is able to combine flight and such powerful attack spells for so long, then her power must be that of a B-class mage. Ryudo realizes that the holy sword Cordelia is currently using still protects her from any dangerous spells and does not accept why Lilith continues to shoot at her. The young man begins to guess what Lilith wants to do. Cordelia deflects another magical attack and shouts at Lilith that it is useless to use magic against her. She tells her to come down to her and fight like a warrior. Lilith replies that she is right and that this holy sword of hers is truly amazing. Cordelia wonders what she meant by calling the sword hers. Lilith holds up arrows and offers something more tangible. She throws the arrows into the air, and Ryudo realizes with horror that she is going to use this. Cordelia watches Lilith, not understanding what is happening. Lilith tells her that her chances of winning are now 0. The arrows change direction and fly towards her. The arrows attack Cordelia, hitting the ground and creating a large explosion. Before Cordelia can react, more arrows are flying at her. She deflects them with her sword, but they do not fall but attack again. Cordelia tries to deflect every arrow. She realizes that the attack is so strong that she can't completely dispel it, and her arm is starting to go numb. She decides to do something different and starts running away from the arrows. Lilith is surprised and assumes that she decided to run away from her spike. Lilith decides that this is no problem, she can simply increase their speed. Cordelia stops, turns sharply and jumps. Cordelia jumps straight at Lilith, who is flying in the sky. Lilith is surprised that she is able to close the distance between them so easily, jumping without any preparation. The arrows change direction, but Lilith realizes that the pikes will not reach her in time. Cordelia attacks her. Lilith decides she can simply dodge her attack. Cordelia jumps away from the peak and attacks again. Lilith realizes she was using the peak as a support. Lilith thinks this is bad and gets confused. She remembers that she definitely panicked and it affected her magical control. Cordelia misses Lilith and they both fall to the ground. Lilith lands on Cordelia, holding a magical attack on the go. She declares victory for her. Lilith senses something is wrong. Ryudo intimidatingly tells Lilith that now is the time for her to stop. The girl gets scared and raises her hands above her head, signaling that she surrenders. She notices a huge crowd applauding her. Ryudo says that it seems that everything ended well. Lilith covers her face with her hood, embarrassed. Cormlania stands up and says that it is worth admitting that she is indeed a strong opponent. She clarifies that she decided to give in to her so that the hero would not be disgraced by losing in such a duel. She claims that this is to be expected from the one whom Ryudo chose as his comrade. Lilith claims that she was the winner as she abruptly stopped her attack while they were in midair. Cordelia extends her hand to her as a sign of use. Cordelia suggests to Lilith that they become friends again. Lilith is about to shake her hand when Cordelia notices the seal. She asks her, dumbfounded, what it is. Lilith realizes that she is talking about the mark. She remembers that although the seal's effect has long since ended, she decided to leave this mark as a memento of the beginning of her travels with Ryudo. Lilith thinks of what to say. She says that Ryudo is her dear master and of course they are related. Cordelia is shocked to hear this. Ryudo calls out to Cordelia but she runs away from him. Lilith is happy and Ryudo asks her what she is doing. She replies that it is her victory pose. A week after the exams, Moses asks Cordelia if she is okay. She says she is. He assumes that she did not get enough sleep and the girl confirms this. He asks her to take care of her health because she is one of those who is destined to save people. She asks if today is the first day of the quarter month. Moses replies that it is and asks what of it. Cordelia says it's nothing important. They say goodbye and go their separate ways. Moses realizes that Ryudo McLean is still alive. 10 years ago, someone asks a little boy if he is Ryudo. A small boy with glasses introduces himself as Moses and says he is pleased to meet you. He tells him he recently moved here. He suggests that they might get along since they are the same age and extends his hand to be introduced, but Ryudo passes by. Moses says it's such a pity, and if only Ryudo had accepted him back then. He thinks that now he has more reason to grind him into dust. He is surprised that the peasant child who once couldn't even beat a goblin is still alive. Moses remembers what level he showed on the exam and assumes that he was reborn. He believes that this opens up even more possibilities than he could ever imagine. Comedy meets Ryudo in the forest. Ryudo greets her in his academy uniform. Cordelia turns around and wants to leave, but Ryudo asks her to wait. He explains that today is the first day of the 4th month. Ryudo hands her a bouquet of flowers. He says that although these flowers are usually purple or white, they have red buds in these places. He thinks they suit her very well. Cordelia is glad that he still remembers their past. Ryudo claims that he is happy to see that she still keeps that hairpin. She replies that she kept strengthening it with magic, and it would have broken long ago if she hadn't. Cordelia asks Ryudo to tell her about Lilith. He replies that it will be a long conversation. They sit down on a bench and Ryudo tells her. Cordelia says that's what happened. Ryudo mentions the mark, saying that it is just a tattoo as they destroyed the seal long ago. Cordelia thinks she's glad that their relationship isn't like that. Suddenly, Cordelia's stomach rumbles loudly. Ryudo laughs, asking if she's hungry. She yells that it's his fault and tells him to take responsibility and pay for her. He says she can eat for free. She yells at him to take care of her and he agrees. They walk together and Cordelia says that he should give a bouquet and Lilith too. Ryudo asks why since she is not like them. The girl says that everything is fine and she is sure that Lilith will be happy. The man shouts that welcome to hell. He says that their class is just a bunch of nobodies who barely scraped through the entrance exam. He says that from now on, the use of special skills, magic, and items is prohibited. He tells them to try to pass the test using only their muscles and surprise him. The man shouts that if they have enough brains to understand him, then everyone should pack their backpacks and run march to the old school building in the woods. Ryudo and two other guys follow the order. The man shouts to move his legs faster. Ryudo ponders that the Vellum Forest, also called the Mist Forest, is considered to be a rather dangerous forest and was once a plain. But after a certain incident, the entire area around it became overgrown with trees. He remembers that the old school building has been swallowed up by the forest. Ryudo realizes that the 45 students in his class have been divided into 9 groups of 5 and must work together. The boy asks if Ryudo is a peasant like him. He says it's no big deal and introduces himself as Arthur Malcolm. Ryudo says it's nice to meet you and shakes his hand. He asks about the others. Arthur reports that the guy's name is Short, but he's not particularly keen on hanging out with people like them. Ryudo thinks that the worst class was mostly made up of impoverished nobles and former gentry. And even by their standards, the peasants weren't considered normal people. Ryudo speculates that there are 3 meanings of the word peasant. The first is people who do not belong to any place, and they are associated with an organization outside the city. He believes that the second type are those who do not have the ability, that is, the potential of a person as a valiant warrior, so that those who do not have an inclination for any profession related to war can only be city dwellers or peasants. Ryudo thinks that townspeople can find their feet in crafts and use forced labor to compensate for their lack of ability, while peasants have no choice but to try to survive through their labor. He believes that while peasants may be needed to build a city or grow food, they are otherwise of little use to anyone and are treated like stray dogs. Someone jumps up and waves their hand in front of Ryudo to get his attention. Ryudo looks away and sees a small girl jumping right in front of him. She says that she is glad to meet him and her name is Koharu Sigusa. She says that she is from the same group as him. Ryudo assumes that she is from Japan and is an Eastern priestess. Arthur asks her if she is a foreign student. He says that she speaks their language quite well. She replies that she does not speak it at all. Ryudo is surprised by a foreign student in the worst class. Someone pulls Koharu by the collar and asks her how dare she flirt with Ryudo. Ryudo furiously asks Lilith how she got here and grabs her face. She says that Ryudo's love is so dangerous. Ryudo whispers to her that didn't he ask her to look after Cordelia since she managed to become a special student. Lilith tells him not to worry. Lilith declares that she will protect Ryudo. She explains that as a special student, she can get into any class she wants. Ryudo scolds Lilith. She claims that this is one of Ryudo's forms of love. His comrades ask him to avoid fighting. Short asks Arthur if these are their remaining comrades. Arthur replies that he doesn't want to believe it. 2 hours later, Ryudo looks at the schedule and thinks it's tightly planned. Arthur exclaims that they've already been imprisoned. Short says that they wanted to study magic. The class discusses how the hero achieved his mastery by strengthening his muscles. He says that it is a type of training where you improve your physical and mental performance. Short asks if the training is designed according to the new trend. Ryudo thinks that this will be a problem, since his absurd stats are the result of the buffs he's been given, so he'll lose them during training. He decides that he can try to make the shackles not work. He thinks that everything is fine and he should reforge his body and mind with them. The next morning at 6 o'clock in the training field, Koharu stands in amazement. Ryudo asks her if she is alone. He asks where Lilith is since they are roommates. Koharu replies that she said she felt bad because there were too many people. Ryudo scolds, wondering if she really hates group activities that much. Meanwhile, Lilith is lying in her bed, thinking about how there are too many people and how it makes her sick. She takes Ryudo's clothes and decides that his scent actually calms her down. Koharu says that it's really weird. She says that although there is a notorious forest outside the walls, there are no signs of plants or monsters entering the area. Ryudo explains that this place was the last line of defense before the disaster many years ago, so it is not surprising that such a protective barrier remains here. He admits that he thinks that the place is now surrounded by trees on all sides. He says that now it can only serve as an observation post with the worst class to the quality of the lookouts. Ryudo thinks that the disaster is a phenomenon that causes monsters to quickly transform into evil dragons or demon lords, and the appearance of unique monsters is also due to it. He considers a catastrophe to be the opposite, something unimaginable, something that cannot be described, primarily because after such a thing almost no one remains alive. But all known catastrophes are similar in some ways. Ryudo thinks that all disasters cause a sudden transformation in the generation of one of the monster tribes. And when this happens, the danger level of the entire race increases by an order of magnitude. He remembers a pack of goblins, that in time from past disasters ordinary goblin soldiers turned into generals, and goblin kings into emperors. Although it was believed that emperors were the final milestone of this race, goblins evolved further. Ryudo thinks about the Ultima, monsters that were no bigger than a normal goblin, but their power was comparable to the evil god class, and some countries were literally destroyed after being attacked by an army of goblins led by such a monster. Ryudo believes that in this world, humanity is slowly but surely shrinking, and these disasters are pushing people even further towards complete destruction, and heroes are the only ones who can resist this. He thinks he doesn't care about humanity, but he wants to protect Cordelia and Lilith, his village, the old man and the teacher. Koharu turns to Ryudo. He clarifies that the run will start soon. The girl says that there is something she hasn't told her teammates before. She admits to them that she is not at all sure that she has enough stamina at all. Ryudo and his comrades run to help Koharu, but in the end, he still ends up carrying her on his back. On the second day at 7:30 in the morning, the students eat their meager breakfast in the cafeteria. Koharu offers her portion to Arthur, but he refuses. Ryudo walks into the dining room with plates in hand and says that he bets that they are already starting to bloat from hunger, offering to try them. Koharu is surprised that it's oatmeal. Ryudo says that since they can cook their own food, he found a small corner of the school field and grew the grain there. Koharu wonders if he used any powers to make them rise so quickly, mentioning that they were forbidden to do so. His comrades leave without eating the porridge and Ryudo curses. He thinks about how they only banned offensive and defensive moves, and it's pretty clearly written in the rules. Lilith scolds and Koharu asks what she did wrong. Koharu addresses him as Ryudo-san. The boy says that it's okay to call him simply Ryudo. The girl says that although she is grateful to him, she can't accept it. Ryudo hands her a plate and tells her to eat and not worry, and to try her best after eating. He asks what kind of stamina can there be if she's hungry. Koharu tries his porridge and says it tastes warming. Ryudo replies that it's all because of the ingredients and that it's also very nutritious. At 8:30 they are in a special lesson. Their leader shouts that they are here because they are unlucky and orders them to climb up the rope. He promises that if even one of them reaches the end, he will let them all go. Arthur raises his hand to ask if failure will affect their punishment. The man replies that it won't, and that they'll be missing out on more than half a portion of dinner anyway. Arthur rolls up his sleeves and says he needs to take a risk. He climbs the rope but falls. Arthur falls from a great height and a man softens his fall with magic. He asks what will go next. Short wonders if Arthur, the strongest of them, couldn't do it, and he and the girls have no chance at all, then there's only one option left. Someone raises their hand. Ryudo asks to give it a try. He resolutely climbs up the rope higher and higher. He thinks that in this world where using magic is something common, pulling himself up on a rope seems like a simple task. However, he believes that climbing to such a height is an outstanding achievement even for an athlete who does not use magic, and it is an impossible height, but it still requires willpower and the desire to continue. Everyone looks at him in surprise. Ryudo continues to climb and realizes that the usual result of such punishments was cowering students, with their self-confidence shattered. Ryudo believes that the purpose of all this is to get him expelled from school. That guy whose injuries were serious, so the treatment required a lot of money, thinks that she is sure that Ryudo is running away now, and if he only comes back, he will make Lilith and that girl melt from his exclusivity. He laughs, thinking it's just a perfect plan. The nurses shout for a doctor to come quickly. Ryudo decides that it is his fault that his teammates had to take part in this whole farce. Ryudo almost reaches the end. Koharu exclaims that it's just amazing and there's still a little bit left. Ryudo realizes it's a debuff and he falls. He doesn't know when it happened. Koharu yells that Ryudo is falling. Lilith tells her to shut up already. Ryudo grabs the rope and thinks that even if his performance is good without the magic enhancement, he hasn't stopped training since he was a child, since the time when his level was 1, so he shouldn't underestimate the body that has been tempered. Ryudo climbs all the way up and touches the ceiling, then immediately falls down. The instructor catches him with magic. Ryudo tells him that he saved him. The man wants to ask him something but changes his mind and tells him not to worry about it. Arthur is upset that Ryudo succeeded and he didn't. Lilith hugs him and Short thinks about something. All this time, Moses is watching him through a special magic. He says that Ryudo is an interesting specimen. The next day at 11:30 after dinner, Ryudo comes into their room and notices a disgruntled Arthur. Ryudo believes that since then, Arthur has been avoiding him and constantly challenges him to fight during combat training and does not even try to hold back. He wonders if he did something wrong. Short claims that he is simply talking to himself. Short tells Ryudo that Arthur's father once served as a captain in a knightly order. He says that he was the only nobleman who supported the idea of common peasants participating in fencing matches, and was eventually dismissed when he lost to one such peasant, even though the peasant refused his post. Short says that of course the captain had grown decrepit. He says that Arthur simply hated his father, whom he respected more than anyone else. Short argues that one peasant has caused a respected nobleman to lose his status and added another brick to the established attitude towards peasants. He asks him if he thinks the peasant should know his place. On the third day, the instructor announces that they have a new pastime. He tells them to take their backpacks and run 100 kilometers around the lost forest. He warns them not to forget their bracelets and declares that those he does not see tomorrow will be expelled. He tells them that this isn't an individual activity, so they shouldn't even try to rely on their teammates. He tells them not to worry about the weaklings because they have enough meat to replace them. Ryudo realizes that this is it. Ryudo thinks that running a march around the forest in a day is a nearly impossible task, though it wouldn't be a problem for him and Lilith with their experience. He decides that the others think that people like him and Koharu are just a problem. Ryudo recalls being asked if he knew his place, and realizes that he did from the moment he became worthy of standing next to Cordelia without causing her any trouble. He looks at Koharu and wonders why they are so keen to get rid of a foreign student like her. He assumes it is some form of bullying. Ryudo bandages Koharu's injured leg. He muses that as he thought, the class anonymously chose him to take care of Koharu's injured leg. He reveals that he used a few herbs that should help. He remembers asking Lilith to go ahead as they might scare Koharu. Lilith exclaims that a loving wife should forgive her husband's love affairs, but she will remember this terrible act forever. Koharu claims that it is true that she was always a mistake. She apologizes to him for everything, adding that she even marred his relationship with Lilith. Ryudo quotes the poem and Koharu asks in surprise how he knows it. He says that the picturesque natural scenery is a good example of the culture of her homeland. He says that since her name is Koharu, she should be stronger and brighter. He thinks that when he is around her, it reminds him of Japan. Suddenly, Ryudo remembers his past life. He realizes that he definitely can't forget about it. Koharu calls out to him, intending to say something, but changes her mind and tells him to ignore her. She reflects that she thought for a moment that Ryudo had become intimidating. Ryudo says that about that. He asks her what a person worthy of being in Class A does in the worst class. Koharu is taken aback by his question. Ryudo explains that the Sigusa are known as an ancient clan that has the innate skill of spirit medium, and asks if she thought that no one had heard of her clan. He says that as the eldest daughter, she clearly has even more skills. He explains that the unique ancestral skill, divine possession, allows its user to become possessed by ancient gods or spirits, thereby raising their stats to unimaginable levels. Koharu, dumbfounded, asks how he knew all this. Ryudo replies that he also has unique skills, so he seems to sense those who are similar to him. Koharu is surprised, saying that it is the first time she has encountered something like this. Ryudo thinks that he learned about everything from the books in the Dragon Emperor's library, but instead of going into detail, he decided that it would be better if she confided in him. He tells her that he can remove the curses that have been placed on her. Koharu asks how she knows all this. Ryudo replies that of course not everything. For example, he has no idea what is happening in the Eastern Zone. Ryudo asks him to explain what such an important person for the East is doing in the West. The old man announces that the seal for Orochi-sama is safe again for the next 300 years. He says that with this knowledge, he can finally retire. The girl asks the girl if any scary monsters or evil spirits ran by. The girl replies that if there are any, she is sure that Koharu will defeat them herself, so everything is fine. The evil spirits killed everyone, and Koharu watched this with horror and despair. She tells Ryudo that this is what happened to her village, and he sits there shocked by her story. He speculates that the group was being led by a top-level general. He assumes it was a disaster. He believes that this is impossible, that although there has been no mention of the catastrophe in the world for hundreds of years, the place where all this appeared was precisely these lands. Ryudo asks if she ran away from the fight with that king monster because of that curse. Koharu shows the seal and says that it prevents her from using divine possession, which is why she was unable to fight them. She admits that this is why she ran away, leaving the rest of the villagers behind. She says that she is useless, that she cannot use divine possession. She says that after her village was destroyed, she was taken care of by a hero from the east, and she visited many exorcists but no one could help. So she decided to go to the west, thinking that magic could help. Ryudo thinks that it doesn't look like her search was successful. He thinks that this curse was made with Eastern magic, even though it looks like Western or Southern magic, and there is one person who could do it without the clan's knowledge. He decides that this was done by the hero of the East himself. He wonders what is going on and if he is going to destroy the Sigusa clan. He decides to stop and try not to think about it now. Koharu says that the power she possesses is not her own, but taken from her ancestors and the gods. She claims that she was chosen to carry it as the eldest daughter and must ensure that it is passed on. She wants to say that just then, in honor of the people of her village, she had to do something, but Ryudo motions for her to be quiet and holds his hand near her. Suddenly, his hand turns into a monster's paw and Koharu is scared. He tells her to relax and that he will remove her curse now. Ryudo pulls the curse out of her body. His hand begins to transform back into a human hand, and Koharu watches in surprise. Ryudo thinks that it is heavy and even somehow painful. He tells her that this hand is called the last hand that can devour anything. He asks her to try using the skill again. She looks at her stomach and the mark is not there. She, realizing what is happening, begins to cry with happiness. He sincerely thanks Ryudo. Suddenly, a monster appears and attacks them. Ryudo and Koharu manage to dodge, and he thinks that it is an ogre, a general, but he realizes that it is an Eastern Oni. He does not understand what he forgot in the West. Ryudo wants to use the last hand skill, but he fails and decides that he won't be able to use it anymore today. They dodge his attacks as Ryudo senses enemies behind him. Ryudo realizes that it was a trap and they are surrounded, so he abandons Koharu to take all the attacks on himself. The huge monster grabs Ryudo by the leg. The boy is surprised that this monster is still alive, realizing that it is stubborn. The monster swings its arm to throw Ryudo. He throws him to the ground and Koharu runs towards him, but the spirit blocks her way. She remembers the humiliation of her village and is unable to move due to fear of them. Ryudo, noticing this, assumes that she is unable to move due to injury. Ryudo decides he has no other choice. A boy appears, being held in the hand of one of the monsters. He asks what's wrong, saying it smells so good. He tells the monster that they have been waiting for this trip for so long and suggests that they enjoy it to the fullest. Ryudo stands over a mountain of monster and evil spirit corpses, his arm still recovering. Koharu asks him if he's okay. Ryudo asks about her if she can go. Ryudo nods in agreement and Ryudo suggests they head out. The Dragon King says, wow, some guy got it into his head to combine God Eater with Beelzebub. Ryudo replies that Gluttony tried to eat him, so he just ate it back. The man thinks that it's clearly not easy to combine two abilities and devour anything. He says that the devour anything effect of insatiability will not disappear even if she seals it. She can use God Eater and it will absorb insatiability itself. And devouring each other, they release energy, so it is surprising that his body remained intact. Ryudo admits that it feels like Peasant's fury is always on, and his mana is constantly on the verge of exploding, only to be depleted again. He says he doesn't even know where it goes. The king speculates that the ring of the Dragon King on his right hand is somehow attempting to combine these skills. He decides that some of the energy abundance his body emits is probably also used to sustain Ryudo. Ryudo says that in any case, he is becoming strong. He asks to tell him how this world works. He asks if it is time for him to tell Ryudo, horrified by the king's words. The man asks if he understands everything. He says that it is not as simple as just defeating the demon lord and the demon god. He tells Ryudo that he can neither save the hero nor change this world. Ryudo clarifies if he means that it is impossible for the current him. He thanks him for taking all the arrogance out of him. Ryudo decides that this is still not enough. The man says something about what he said earlier. The king reveals that the reincarnated Moses may be more troublesome than he thinks, and that he probably knows how the world works too. He says that he will try to take advantage of this, and that the sages are able to turn wishes into reality. Ryudo replies that he is at ease then, as he is probably thinking of using the current him, but he will be able to benefit from it. He states that the peasant will manipulate the sage. The next day at 6 in the morning, the instructor assumes that Sigusa and McLean have failed and will soon be expelled from the academy. Lilith asks him if he is in his right mind. He claims that Ryudo is the one who will be revered as a great hero in the future, and he means to say that he is going to expel him. The man says that it is a wonderful bedtime story, and for now let him go and play. Someone shouts at them to look towards the gate. Ryudo, carrying 2 backpacks and Kohara on his back, enters the camp. He announces that McLean and Sigusa have completed their mission. Short tells them to wait. He asks why he isn't wearing his magic skills. Short clarifies that wouldn't that automatically disqualify him. Ryudo asks to take Koharu to the infirmary first since she lost consciousness. He says that first he has to report something. The students ask if there was an ogre there. Ryudo remembers that he told them that his magical bonds were broken after the Oni attacked, but he was lucky enough to escape and they still believed him. At 1 o'clock that same day, they were given a special order to leave the old school building, so all the students were moving to the new building. They were all excitedly discussing why they were being moved to the new building and whether it was the right decision. Ryudo believes that the barrier does not work against the Eastern Oni since the North and West use common magic, while the South and East use original magic. He decides that it would be difficult to defend against Eastern magic, so the solution is reasonable. He wonders if they are moving too calmly. He wonders if they foresaw something like this and wanted to exclude Koharu because of it. He decides they didn't, but he doesn't know what he should do then. He thinks that he will go to save Cordelia. He thinks that he managed to collect data on the enemy, and it looks like an army is approaching them from the northeast, and Cordelia is in the western part of the fortress. He assumes that they managed to escape. Ryudo wonders if he should go save her. He decides that she is strong enough to win a fight against a king-class monster, so he can leave it to her. Lilith asks him what he's going to do. Ryudo is surprised at first, but then smiles resolutely. He states that he wants to lead them to Cordelia and her comrades. He explains that the new building is surrounded by demons, so they won't be able to get through, and the main force of the academy is already in the fortress. Lilith asks how he plans to change their destination since they need to go in a different direction. Ryudo replies that he will do it with a little performance. Ryudo turns to Arthur saying that he needs to stitch his leg. He asks him to help. Ryudo lies in the carriage. He reflects that of course it would be easier to rest, but he had hoped that it would give him a shoulder to lean on. He asks Lilith telepathically if she can hear him. She replies that she can. Ryudo reports that the preparations are complete. Lilith stops her class and says that she will need to take a look at the new school building from here. The instructor asks her what she is even talking about. Lilith flies high into the sky. The man realizes that it was the magic of flight and wonders how fast she could reach such a height. Lilith surveys the entire area from above, and when she lands back, she reports that things are bad. She says that the new building is already surrounded by ogres, and it looks like the barrier is still holding them back, but won't let them through either. Lilith lies that a large horde is approaching them from behind. She admits that she cannot understand whether they are going to a new building or to their souls. The girl says that in any case, they should clearly change their route to another one. Lilith reports that she saw a fortress not far from here and they were also attacked by ogres, but they were able to suppress them. She says that there were people in academy uniforms, and although they will have to take a detour, she thinks it is worth it. The man reminds them that they have carts with them and they can't afford to lose them in the middle of the forest. Lilith asks him to leave it to her. She says she will make a way for them.